Hello, friends and fellow jackets and citizen detectives. Welcome back to the Monday evening uh, murder podcast, which is normally in the morning, but this morning it is not, or this evening it's not.
It's
Uh,
Monday clock. It's Monday clock somewhere, right?
yeah, exactly. It's Monday morning somewhere, or it was. Um, we are back to discuss the brand new episodes of Yellowjackets. There are two new episodes to discuss from season 3, and we are just so excited to be back with you all to get to discuss all the details and the symbolism and all of the fun little details. I'm just so happy to be back. My name is Erin. I am your host, aka Faye Fire, and this is my lovely co-host, Mandy, aka Nacho Counselor. And how are you doing this evening, Miss Mandy?
Thank you for asking, my darling. I am doing wonderful. And I'm so excited to be back here. I'm still digestifying everything. Like this was such a lot, especially the 2 episode drop. It was we gotta like digest, we gotta eat it all up. There's so much to citizen detect. And hello again, all you fellow jackets, my citizen detectives, my hive. I mean, I'm so good to be Yellow Jackets enthusiasts. Are you ready to get down with us?
Time to buzz.
Buzz.
Mm-hmm.
I
Well,
was
thank
calling the
you.
wild, but I don't know how long this is gonna last, y'all, because it's a little bit annoying. So just bear with me. Bear
Mandy's
down.
ready to celebrate the with the yellow jackets in the tree groves, and we're definitely going to talk about a lot of that fun stuff, tree groves and druids and pagan
Eastar.
rituals and whatnot. You know, that's what we're all about around here. Um, well, before we get started, if you are enjoying this podcast and you love Yellow Jackets, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. We do a Yellow Jackets podcast every week to cover the new episodes and, of course, other really fun stuff on the channel. Last week, Mandy and I did a live stream about the wilderness. So we did kind of a deep dive on the wilderness. And, you know, I think these first couple episodes gave us some really interesting insight that we can kind of add and tie into the things that we talked about last week. I'm super stoked to get into it all. So be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you never miss an episode. And if you are a person who uses Rumble, definitely find me over on Rumble and subscribe to me over there. I'm trying to grow my channel over there. And
This
so,
isn't just some stupid girl, SHIT. By the way, just I'm gonna, quote some Nat in here since I'm Nat your counselor. We don't need to be your counselor to tell you, but you better start liking the channel or else. I mean, that's all I gotta say.
you know what? I am happy and I am grateful. You know, actually a couple weeks ago we talked about I was getting really close to 13,000 subscribers. So, and I was saying, you know, if we can get to that number before season 3 starts, before our season 3 coverage starts, that would be amazing. And we surpassed that number. So I am very thankful to all the new people, all the new subscribers and viewers to the channel. I'm so happy to have you here, and hopefully you'll get to enjoy all the Yellow Jackets buzz with us while we're just making the most of it during season 3.
And maybe we'll make a recipe because I got a Family Lucky barbecue 13 sauce. So it goes with our Yellow Jackets edible recipe book. So
That's
just add
right.
that little bit of blood in there. All right, let's get it
Perfect.
rolling.
Yeah. So before we get into the episodes, there were a couple of announcements. Actually, while we're let me see. I'm going to pull this up really quick and hopefully not lag things. But we ran a poll last week before the episode premiere. And I just basically asked on the eve of season 3, whose side will you be taking in the War of the Wilderness? And this was a Nat versus Shauna, because obviously, as we saw, they're sort of the two contending yeah, the leaders, or at least Shauna's having a little bit of contention, a little bit of feelings about Nat being the leader. And it actually it was a pretty steady number, although the scales tipped a little at the end. But we have Nat coming in strong at 71% and Shauna at 29%. And that was about it. Like it was about a 75-25 leading up to it all. And then like after the episode dropped, then Shauna got a few more points. But I think, as Lottie said, to be fair, we're all afraid of Shauna. So, Butcher Queen Shauna is a little daunting. Um, so, well, and if you guys are here watching live, drop a hello in the chat. I see a couple people here. We've got AK watching, and or she's just dropping by, and then we have Mud Love Media. Thanks for being here. And I watched was it your reaction? It must have been your reaction video. I watched one of your videos yesterday. So, Mud Love Media, definitely go subscribe to his channel. It's great content, a lot of awesome Yellowjackets content. And a shout out to all of my Yellowjackets creators out there. I'm just so happy to have all this content to watch and to just, feel like we're all like in this camaraderie. We're in the wilderness together right now.
I love you guys, bro. Like I just love you, and I love the show, and it's so deep, and it's the fact that you're here to get deeper with us. Like these kind of spirits and connections are bonded in the wilderness like this,
Lifelong bonds made in the wilderness. Did I say bonds or bongs? I don't know.
Both.
Mrs. Duncan the Tall, thank you for staying awake. I know it's really late for you and you have children, and so I appreciate you staying awake to say hello, and hello, I love you. And so, okay, well, thank you. Thanks for being here. Yeah, I know it is a little bit late. We kind of had to switch it up. It was a holiday today in America. It's President's Day, and Mandy and I totally didn't think about that when scheduling this morning, that we had our whole family and kids at home. So, anyways. Okay, one more update before we get going. Now this is regarding something that I think all of us are pretty curious about, something that we were waiting on, which is the Cabin Daddy special. So if you've been following Yellowjackets for a while, you probably remember at the end of season 2, we were told that they had made a special about dead cabin guy, or cabin daddy as we call him. And actually they had cast Melanie Linsky's husband, Jason Ritter, to play cabin daddy. So the whole thing is made. We already know it's made. There's actually some behind the scenes shots from it. But they haven't released it yet. And we were told it was going to be released between seasons 2 and 3. And unfortunately, that turned out to not be the case. So Ashley Lyle and Bart Nickerson were asked about it at the premiere event. And Ashley says that they don't have a definitive answer for us on when it will come out, but they absolutely want to tell that story, and they adore Jason Ritter. Frankly, the writer's strike was a wrench in the works there, but they're very hopeful that it will be seen by fans eventually, and they can't wait for that to happen. And they emphasize it's a standalone episode that would have no effect on the main storyline as far as like a time perspective. So it will all make sense in the grand scheme of things. So super bummed that we didn't get it yet, but hey, at least we got an update.
When we get it, we are definitely going to be capturing that bone and spreading that V. Okay, but that's ICTROI.
Absolutely, yes, we will have all the buzz for it.
I mean, I told you, we need a cabin daddy and log girl calendar. Like we need sexy wilderness calendars. I don't know.
Photos, cabin daddy, their late child. Yeah, log lady and a log.
I mean, can you imagine like Van with like a fire behind her with like her like Missy with her axe? I don't know. I'm getting hot.
That would be crazy. Okay, so hopefully we'll get that soon. But the other thing is also one more thing. Mandy and I have a really big announcement that we are going to share with you guys. So stick around. We're going to hold on to it until basically we're going to talk about the first episode. And then before we get into the second episode, we have some big news to share with you, a big exciting announcement for something that's coming up for the channel. So stick around, watch, and we'll try and not take too terribly long. Although, you know, we're infamous for saying that, but I'm thinking, you know, maybe about 1 hour per episode discussion here. So hopefully you guys had your coffee and your hot chocolate to get that little sugar buzz going on. So, all right. Oh, Wild Marjoram. Well, you'll find out tomorrow. Is there
Yeah,
Jordan's
that's
yelling
great.
away? All right. So,
It's not a 5.
yeah, Mrs. Duncan the Tall, Mari. Yeah, she's wonderful. Alexis Baraha, I believe, is her full name, her real name. Miss Mari. Okay. And Mari, she's got a hot presence going on these first couple episodes. She's got a lot going on, which is really exciting for her because she's been kind of a low-key background character.
Yeah, we
Not a
can't promise.
5-hour iceberg. Yeah.
We can't promise anything.
Yeah, I mean, this is a very exciting time. So,
All
all
right,
right,
let's.
now before one quick thing I wanted to just bring up in general, that we can just generally keep this in mind going forward, that I thought it was important that we discuss what the color yellow can represent in film. So as I'm sure you guys noticed that they've kind of used this yellow filter in the wilderness scenes, and obviously that's intentional, but it's a change. You know, we're jumping in summer, right? But we spent season 1 during the summer and it didn't have this yellow filter. So I think that there's a distinctive this is I think that's a distinctive reason that they made that change. So, and we've kind of talked about this before with other color like filters that they've used. They used like the blue and the red with Nat and with Travis back in season 1. So, what yellow can represent is it's intended as an excess of fury, a blind irrationality, or a delirium. Yellow is the figurative color of sun and light, so it attracts and catches viewers' eyes. It may help to express frenzy, action, vitality, energy, eccentricity, madness, or the bizarre. And it may also be associated with the concept of disease. So I thought that was really like important that we put that out there
On
because
point.
yeah. And I'm starting, so like after watching these first couple episodes, I'm starting to kind of wonder if we're getting a little bit of like unreliable narrator because, you know, it's so like going into it, the intro to the first episode is so like kind of romantic, you know, it's like with Ty and Van and she's combing her hair and the, you know, the peaceful music playing and
The
all of
morning
that. And
sun.
it's yeah, the sun, it's all hazy. They're just kind of like, you know, happy and relaxed. And it's like, is this real? Like, is this for real? Because the way that things were left at the end of season 2 with the cabin burning down and everything they own kind of burning down and this destruction and all of this. And so to transition to such a happy environment, which hey, don't get me wrong, I'm happy that they are thriving, they're doing great, but I also think it would be really interesting if that was like not real, like if that was just kind of this delusion they have in their minds of what their experience is versus what maybe someone else might see, like if they, you know, if someone came to rescue them right then and there, would they see the exact same thing, or are these girls kind of really losing it at this
Mm-hmm.
point, you know?
Is yellow their veil? Is it yellow their jacket? Because it's in a sense a safety. And we're getting a lot of that too with like this whole nod to spring and Easter, and we see the 3 crosses and the sun. You know, we have to look at that perspective too. And we think that all is well. And this is not, Mari says like, this is not what we're doing. We are giving it a name, or we're not that girl, but are you that it girl? You're a pit girl. We have the pit girl, we have the shit girl, we have the like. I mean, there's a couple of different things with all the it's in there if you want to get down to the nitty gritty words, but it's a time for like mellow yellow. I mean, in a sense, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's really interesting. I don't know. I'm starting to like that idea more and more. That like, I mean, because they've toyed with different ideas, like we talked about during the wilderness stream, parasites or something like that, or even like a mineral runoff, or some sort of chemical imbalance.
Like
Yeah, I
sulfur.
have the lady screaming in the woods back here.
Sulfur has that yellow color, the salt stuff as well. And then you have like, I mean, I just can't get over the jacket whole reference with like the mantles, and when people are sharing mantles with Misty and the whole jacket and how she becomes kind of like Nat in that sense. So we're getting that whole yellow veil, and
Mhm.
then they're getting what they're wearing veils. I mean, they're in the show. I mean, behind the picture we have the brownish yellow, which but
That's it. Those are actually they're made out of the plane seats.
yeah, really?
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
That's cool. I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
Um, so it's entirely
And the yellow
possible.
flowers we got at the end. I mean,
I
I don't
didn't
want to
I
skip this
didn't
too.
tell you guys, yeah, Wild Marjoram, they hired my daughter as an extra. Anyway, sorry. So yeah, I don't know. I just think I like the idea that, yeah, if there is something that's like affecting them, then the yellow is kind of an indicator of that,
Do you,
or it's something that for us to keep in mind.
do you
Um,
remember when we talked about each girl when they were bowing to Natalie? They all
mhm.
kind of bowed at a different part, and when they ate Jackie's body, and we were comparing them to the chakras. Do you remember who was yellow? I
Um,
think it was Mari.
I don't remember. I don't know.
We have to go back and look at that, y'all. But
Yeah.
we had put with that, which is like, again, when you're talking about the chakras and moving on up, is yellows like kind of in that image. I
Yellow
think
is
Mari's
the
were
throat, I believe, the throat chakra, which actually I think that's
the,
Shauna, isn't it?
yeah, the green,
Wait, is yellow
the
throat?
heart,
Someone in the chat, look it up.
the heart.
What color is the yellow chakra? Look it up for us. Yeah, Karen, sorry, Karen Niosa. Um, we had we've kind of speculated about that. Okay, so the tan was what I was referring to as far as the plain seats. So what they had made the hoods out of for their outfits. As far as the white goes, yeah, I don't know. We kind of were, yeah, exactly, suspending the disbelief. We had kind of suspected that there might be parachutes on the plane, although that's not typical. Upon my research, it's actually not typical for planes, even private planes, commercial planes, to have parachutes on them, just because the weight and just like the use of them is just kind of like an extra complication that's probably, it's not, I don't know. So but we're just kind of like, okay, yeah, there were parachutes there. That's what we're going with.
So
We
yeah,
didn't say otherwise, but like, what could it possibly be, right?
the yellow chakra is like right below the navel, like, so it's like your belly where you're fed and getting. I mean, it kind of makes sense. It's below the heart, so right below the green.
Yeah, and
Um,
Mari was seated somewhere along the side of her, so
so it represents a lot of also jewels. So it could be like a gem thing. And I don't think we put that together before because she really wasn't much of a character. How they spell gem. Interesting. We'll have to look into that.
yeah.
Manipura, yeah.
Um
Manipulator. I mean, in a sense, it gives you that gut feeling. And oh, and here is Callie literally throwing her guts out on the table.
Very
And
true.
she's the son of Shauna, in a sense, the
Mhm.
daughter, one and only son,
Well,
SUN,
before we get too
SON.
far into it, let's just introduce the episode.
Yes.
before we just jump into it,
I
because you know
know.
what, we have so much to talk about with it. But okay, so obviously episode 301 is called It Girl. And let me go ahead. Mandy will read for us the description for it. Let me see. Let me pull this up. All right, Mandy, you're on.
It's girl. Summer inspires the Yellowjackets to ditch soccer for one more contact intensive sport and revive an old pagan tradition. In the present, a cringeworthy funeral flows organically into a bar therapy session. Season premiere.
Oh, yeah. This episode was directed by Bart Nickerson, and it was written by Ashley Lyle, Bart Nickerson, and Jonathan Lisco. I definitely think we could see the Bart flavor on this one. So, Bart, Ashley, and John. Well, Bart and Ashley are the co-creators of Yellowjackets, and Jonathan Lisco is their co-executive producer. So they're kind of like your big three of the show. And so this was really exciting. So Bart directed the first episode, and then Jonathan is directing the third episode of this season. So I really think that's like very exciting, very important. And I think, I really feel like this third season is like a very heart and soul, like, from these creators, because, well, obviously they're really leaning into the number 3, and if you're kind of a spiritual type person, then you would know the number 3 is like a very powerful number, a magical number, but it's also associated with like druids and Celtic beliefs, sort of the um old Celtic and like Briton lore and mythology. So we have like the Welsh triads, which are kind of like your rules of life and kind of the guidelines of society and culture. And that kind of connects with Arthurian lore and that kind of thing. And so I think that they're going to have a lot of fun with that, because we already saw a lot of that imagery happening in the first episode, even with Coach Ben, but also with like the pagan festival, or the pagan ritual or what have you. Um, and even the crosses, Mandy, I know you mentioned the crosses, but they were not just a cross. There's a third stick that kind of crosses through that, and that's really interesting for many reasons. I mean, what could that possibly mean? Is that like an anti-cross, like a crossing out of it, or is this some sort of embellishment,
Axis.
almost like an orthodox cross or something like that? I don't know. I'm really excited to kind of get into more of the threes. And then, of course, we have like with Travis and the trees and all of that. So, yeah, there's a lot of kind of Celtic flavor coming in with these first episodes. And I really hope that it kind of permeates throughout the whole season, because I love this. This is like anything sort of Arthurian is totally my jam. So, all right. So Mandy, before we get too far in the episode, should we do our Mandy's music corner? Okay. All right.
I mean, it's not just my music corner, but I like that you give me the love. Thank you.
I think it's your jam, you know?
Well, I mean, Cat Stevens, who can, if you want to sing out, sing out. But This Morning Has Broken it really was just like so cool that they put that in there. It gave it that whole like just hippie vibe, like coming together to try to live again off the community and off of, what nature has provided. I love that they're all holding the animals and things like that.
Mhm.
Yeah. And first off, this episode I feel like they actually put too much music in this episode, because I felt like they pushed a lot of scenes like with Glycerin and then Cherry Bomb. I mean, come on. That was great with Misty. And you gotta love that one.
Like too many good choices,
There
or
were.
yeah, yeah.
And I
I
think
suppose that's
We're
better
Alone
than
Now.
what was
That
that?
I feel like that scene with those two running and it was really wonderful. I think we're alone now. And then all of a sudden, oh wait, you're not. Spirit's back. Here comes the one, the no-eyed man, or whatever, the Slender Man or Hat Man is what I kind of think he represents. But death, like the veils, you think that we're running in, your love again, and then here it is. The little did they know that that expensive dinner that was going to be very costly was truly costly in a sacrificial way. And they talk about sacrifices and miracles, and that's what this whole episode was about. So I feel like a lot of these songs, when you break them into the lyrics too, come into that, like get rebel girl in episode 2 too. We'll talk about that. I mean, are we talking about both now?
No, we'll do episode 1 and then move into episode 2. Because I've got it all set up. We are back in business, baby. I've got our graphics. I've got the graphics.
Yeah, it's great. Chat. What I mean, definitely though. I feel like that. I think you're alone now. When they were just running so much, like I feel like we could really get into that. But they picked such beautiful time honored music in my mind. But I want you to share what you shared with me about glycerin though, because it does.
Oh. Well,
We're allowed to have
and
negative
that's just me
comments.
being nitpicky, because I remember during season 2, people were nitpicking, they had just the way they had edited. So like my husband is actually a huge Bush fan. I love Bush also, but like he loves them. Like he listens to him all the time. And so the edit for me was really noticeable because we listen to Glycerin all the time. And so the way that they cut it. But I was also kind of like, why would they cut it? Because the line that they cut says what's this? When we rise, it's like strawberry fields. And I was laughing because the strawberry stuff is like such a theme in Yellowjackets. I mean, granted, it's more towards Shauna and her sort of persuasions, but I just thought it was really funny that that was their line choice to kind of edit out, or the way they cut the two stanzas, I think is what you call them, together. Anyways, whatever. That's just my own nitpicky, like whatever. But I was glad to hear it, and I agree. I think that there was like just too many great songs. I also thought, I think We're Alone Now, that was a great song, like for that moment. They edited that in really well, and I love that they didn't even get to the chorus. Like they just played the beginning, so it wasn't too over present, I guess you might say. But yeah, it was great. I loved it. I liked the Cat Stevens song because it was just so pleasant, and it just really set the tone, in comparison to, again, like how season 2 ended, and then we're going into season 3 and it's like, oh, okay, now we have like this peaceful, like beautiful moment. The vibe is all nice, it's totally making me just long for summer. It's snowy outside at my house right now, and it has been for weeks, and so I'm just like, I want summer. I want to lazily like lay around in the sunshine and stuff. It looks pleasant.
Yeah,
So,
it gave that whole rebirth. And
mhm.
I also noticed with the like just seeing all the how they built everything, what they use, where the seats are. But I'm wondering if the doorways have like substantial presence about some of them being circular, some of them being triangle, with the earth elements and how the natural elements and like hermeticism are like
That's a really good
triangles, or
point.
different elements are different ways.
Mhm.
And you can see the girls dividing into each where they are. I wonder, and I wasn't quite sure about who was in what or with who quite yet.
So from what I understand, Nat, Shauna, and Lottie all have their own huts. And Lottie's is the one with the circular door. Um, and she calls that her witch hut. Courtney Eaton does. And then Shauna just has her own, but I believe that, spoiler, that she's gonna get a roommate before too terribly long. So from what I understand. And then a lot of like the JV girls are kind of bunked up together. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously like Ty and Van. So somebody was kind of like counting it out from basically like the stuff they had gathered. This was someone on Twitter, and I think they had kind of calculated there's 8 huts altogether.
Mm.
So pretty interesting.
Oh, I will citizen detect this further, you all. And I did notice as well in this one and the second one, there's so many nods. Like when you go back to season one, there are so many scenes that actually are like the titles from season one. But actually, it's more in episode 2. But like when Mari breaks her leg and falls in the pit, it's very reminiscent to Allie. And then you see a lot of different like True Truce and a Dare, and then you see like the slumber party thing going on as well, and we're getting a lot of teasers and Easter eggs, literally Easter eggs in this Easter episode.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Star type vibes. I
Absolutely.
wonder if they're gonna pull like a hookup thing with like the Mayfest. Was sorry, the one that's on May 1st.
Oh, Beltane? Well,
Yes.
we're already past it. They're at solstice already.
Oh.
So,
Mhm.
and that's an interesting point because going back a little bit. Okay, so let's kind of start let's go back. So Van has her little speech or she does like her performance, which I absolutely loved this scene. I almost wanted to do like a whole video just on this scene of Van's solstice performance intercut with Shauna and her like just anger, psychosis, and everything.
Where was
But
Misty's song or like Misty monologue? I needed
yeah,
that
well,
though.
it was such like a Greek chorus. Like it was so Greek inspired was totally the vibe I was getting. Like Van was like the chorus and she's like, explaining what the show, but then you have Shauna in the background. You could see almost like the spotlight shine on her. And then she's writing in the notebook and she's angry and she's against everyone. It's her against the whole world. And then it cuts back to, the chorus who's sharing this, this story. And I just loved it. I just loved the whole theme of it. It was just perfect. It was probably some of the very best writing of the entire series, in my opinion. Like, I absolutely loved that scene. I just absolutely, my whole heart and soul, I'm saying with my whole chest, I loved that scene. It was excellent. Um,
I love
and
that they gave it to us early too, because like it really gave us a lot of insight. But then as soon as they started working it, like, oh wait, Pit Girl is Mari. Yeah, we knew, but there could be. I think there's going to be another Pit Girl, like how Antler Queen is. There's going to be multiple. So we say there's going to be
yeah,
more Pit Girls, and then now we didn't. The fire wasn't Coach Ben, and all the things that
mhm,
we thought we knew were like blown out.
yeah.
Totally blown out.
Yeah, and yeah, especially from because a lot of the content that we got in the trailers and um like the early kind of release stuff was all coming from episode 1. So like we got all of that out of the way, all the mystery, which means that you know the rest of the season is pretty open. Like we got most of that content from the first episode. So like what's the rest of the season hold? We still don't,
Mhm.
it's the world is our oyster. And so
Like it's
um
like about the orgies, and then
yeah.
um, this about starting the fire. I don't know, chat. What do you guys think? Who starts the fire? Because we didn't start the fire. It was always burning since the world's been turning. And here we are at Fae Fire, the Eternal Fire. And
Mhm.
I actually do think it was Van, especially with some of her commentary as well here. And thank you, Oregano, for coming. Yay.
Sorry, we're doing kind of a late one. Normally we're a morning streamer channel, but we had a bit of a whatever
I like
snafu.
this
Um,
too. How dumb to fall into the pit twice. Well, okay, so pit falls. I think that's we have to look at this like miracle sacrifices, and when we like think of it like existentially or like biblically or just spiritually, when we get into pitfalls, I mean, you're gonna pitfall. We backslide all the time. That is the nature of man, of our DNA, of our sins, of our, what we're made of is to go back and forth, yin and yang, of whatever you want to call it, it being. But we are all that it girl. We can all be pit girl, just how we could all be the antler queen. We all have this kind of thing to fall once, twice, and expect to fall again. because it's there. But the fact is, now that you know the pit's there, are you going to be like Coach Ben, and make something of it, or you're going to be like Mari and be able to climb out of it? And that's why we need each other as a group, as a team, to be able to lift each other out of the pits. And I think that that's what the Yellowjackets are showing, that they're kind of a team, but they're still not a team comparing. Whereas Coach Ben is like, okay, I'm not going to eat you, Mari. Calm down. Let's chill out. Let's get out of this pitfall together, with his imaginary friend, Javi's friend. I don't know.
I just want to take a moment to bask in the fact that I was right about Mari's leg. I've been saying that since season 1. I've been saying that since the pilot episode, that Mari's leg, something was going to happen to Mari's leg, Mari leg theory.
Mm-hmm.
And damn, it feels good to be right. Not that it was like the most, epic, like, yes, it's no Shauna's pregnant theory, but no, I was really rather thrilled to see that play out. As far as Mari being Pit Girl, I actually don't think she is Pit Girl. I think that was a decoy, as she says in the episode. So
I think Callie is, but like, look at how they gave her the 90 and everything. Like, they really had mad first scene.
I definitely think there's some parallels going on. But I don't know. I'm still not convinced that Mari is going to be Pit Girl necessarily. But I liked the parallels all the same. I thought it was really interesting. Now, maybe I could be completely wrong. And actually, one of the best tweets that I've seen that might convince me of otherwise, somebody said something to the effect of, like, Mari, I need Mari to be Pit Girl because I need her to be immortalized in Yellowjackets lore. And I was like, well, actually, that's a really good point. I actually kind of like that because, she is a standout character from the group. We've always known who Mari is. It's not like she's a background character who's sort of come in. Like, we've always kind of known who she is. She's probably one of the more main background characters, if not the most, present background character. And so, her earning the Pit Girl spot is actually kind of something. There's something there that I like. I like that idea.
I
That's
feel like
new perspective that I hadn't considered. Maybe she is. Yeah, maybe she earned it.
This is great right here. The Mari, the red herring, and like she could be survived. But I like the idea of Mari and Coach Ben forming an alliance, and like maybe her drinking the drink in the underworld, quote unquote, is going to give her that kind of. Is she going to be like Hades' wife, to Coach Ben? Are they going to make the stakes and catch the other ones, or try to, maybe it's an accident? I don't think, Mari can't go back now. She's not going to be released back. So someone's going to try to save her, but I don't think she's going to want to go back.
It's an interesting,
and maybe she'll be the one, the it girl leading the pit. Maybe she's going to be the one who actually like captures somebody in the pit. Maybe she's the one standing above the pit. I mean, that would be great. That would be everything. Because everyone thinks there's some Misty, right? But like
maybe we'll see how it plays out. I don't know. There's some ideas of that I'm kind of, well, anyways, we'll get into it. But I don't want to jump too far ahead. I don't want to give any spoilers away yet, just because they're still speculating. But okay. So all right, let's get back. Okay, let's go back to camp. Okay. So before we get too far ahead with Mari, because we could talk about her all day. She's got a lot going on, which is great for her. Now, the episode started, they're playing Capture the Bone, which I think is great. They're still kind of practicing that teamwork, but also they're they're still maintaining like the Yellowjackets competitive spirit. They're staying in shape, but they're also playing. Like, they're just having fun. Like, they are still kids. They're playing in the woods, and it's kind of fun and interesting and exciting. They're playing this sort of hunt chase kind of thing. And then out of the blue comes Shauna, just like a psycho, just ramming right into Mari. And they have their little cat and mouse kind of thing where Mari's pretending she's got the bone and she didn't have it. And then what's so funny is it's Misty who's got the bone. And I was laughing during the scene because I'm like, Misty's not on the team. She's the team manager. And Shauna's got her in her sights. She's chasing her down. So that was terrifying. I was terrified on behalf of Misty in that moment. Um, and then she throws the bone, which we see is Van's necklace, which is made of the deer vertebrae back in season 1. So we get our call back there of Van's old necklace on the old purple piece of yarn and all of that. Um, so and then their team wins, which is kind of looked like the JV team. So I loved that. It was a lot of fun. And of course, again, going back to like they took a lot of these scenes and used them in the promo stuff, the trailer and everything. So much of that scene was used in the trailer, and they did a great job of making it look like there was actually a kind of a hunt going on or something like that. And making it scary, and it completely subverted the entire scene for what it was. So that was kind of fun.
What do you think about the circle? The
Uh
circle of rocks. I mean, very significant to a fairy circle, an opening of where they could have, like, it could technically be some sort of portal type witchy thing, or is it just the end goal? And it's funny that Van was the one who kind of like, essentially she was the goalkeeper because she sent you off base towards another
Well,
direction.
Van was like facilitating the decoy also,
Yeah.
and it's kind of funny because remember what her card was in season 2. She's the jack of what was it? Jack of hearts or jack of spades or something, but she's the jack, which she's just like she's that wild card, right? She's kind of the wild card. You never know really what you're going to get, but it's going to be some kind of like fuckery probably. Like
And
there's a little bit of a Joker vibe going on with Van.
yeah, and she says that. She says the wilderness, she's like, this is not, you would rather be queen. And she brings out that this is not a place for leading. This is not, it's not that place.
Yeah.
So I really like
wanna
this
be
comment by
governing.
Andy and I. I don't think Van would burn the cabin, but it would make sense she would vilify Ben to cover for Dark Tie.
Yes. That's exactly what I think is the case. And I feel like we got so many hints to that in this first episode, between them having their kind of little meeting with Nat, where and I think this was in episode 2, but basically you can tell Ty, as much as Shauna, and this was something I brought up, I did make a video about this, like when Nat is, when Lottie named her their queen, the camera pans to Misty, to Ty, and then to Shauna, and each of them showing that they're dissatisfied with that. Like each of them show that they felt like they should be the one to be named queen. So as much as we see Shauna very obviously and clearly like dissatisfied with Natalie being named queen, Ty is harboring those feelings. Misty might be harboring those feelings, although I think Misty is just as happy to use it as an opportunity to get close to Nat, as much as she would to lead. But I've decided my new nickname for Misty is Misty Misinformation Quigley, because she's the queen of misinformation / disinformation. So she's kind of like Missy Elliott, except for she's Misty Quigley.
No way. I
Well,
love
like,
Missy Elliott. Yo,
Missy,
don't even, no.
Missy Misdemeanor Elliott. So
Oh, you hate his neck.
Misinformation Quigley. Okay.
You mean
It's not very good. I thought it was.
misdemeanor?
I thought I had something there.
Are you talking about the miseducation of Lauren Hill? Is that what you're
I'm
trying to?
talking about Misty. What did she call herself? Now I'm mixed up on my words. It's too many words. Misdemeanor. What was the word? What was her misdemeanor Elliott. Missy Misdemeanor Elliott. Okay.
Oh, look, Miss T, speaking of which, what up, Miss T? Miss T in the house.
We summoned you there.
But you can. I know you work it. All right. Anyway, we working it up in here. Oh, look at Misty. I think it's just, Misty, because we're just not sure where she's gonna go or where her allegiances lies. And oh, I can't see in the rain on your window. Misty's
Mhm.
like the rain. And it's the mist. It's not clear, it's cloudy day, the sunny's not there. She doesn't know what to do with the sun. She's trying to do her part. She definitely was my MVP because Nat says she was. She's the MVP
Oh,
this
she made
season. And
life easy for us.
I love that, but at the same time, I don't think that she's the misinformation. I think that she's giving the information that she gave. And remember in the beginning, we have during that song them playing telephone. And recently, I've been going through a lot of things in my life where it's like literally kids playing telephone because words are getting so miscued and all over the place. It's so easy for you
Mhm.
to say something and someone else to miss it. And she's missing, like, she's missing it. She's missing the T. Like, Miss T, what's up? But she's missing, the root of the T instead of because she was the one that took the root of the T. She's the one that put the roots in the T. You know what I mean? In a sense, she's putting the mushrooms. She's doing all the stuff. She's hiding it, and I think that like she does have the tea. She does have all the information. It's just she's spreading the information, and she doesn't have her own information instead of she's using everyone else's, especially like Nat's character for that. And then she just wants to get information so that she's liked. It's just sad.
Well, I think that she's purposefully she spreads misinformation, or maybe not even misinformation, just strategic information, so that she keeps the attention off of herself, because
Yeah.
this so she still has the cat in the bag of being the person who destroyed the black box. And so that's still a thing that's lurking around. And she learned from her experience with Crystal that she cannot tell anyone about that. She's like, this is something I have to keep under wraps. And I think she's constantly trying to um keep the attention off of herself, just in case it ever like comes up, or anything that has to do with Crystal, like we saw in that moment when Van said, oh, we survived the shit bucket,
Yeah.
and Misty gets all kind of uh you know
Yeah.
quiet about it. And so,
It's
and
called
that's kind of,
deflecting, which is it's what narcissists do a lot of, and a lot of childhood trauma do is like, well, you did this instead, or so and so did this, and yeah, exactly that.
yeah.
And projecting is when you are like more like Shauna is, where like in Jackie, where they're basically coming at each other and saying, well, the same things that they do on people, It's quick to
Mhm.
say. Like we see Shauna projecting at Misty. Well, maybe you are drunk when she's drunk, or something, like when her and Lottie are drunk in the first season. So
Do you have a drinking problem?
but although Shauna
uh,
was really drunk too. So
so
but
Misty
I
has to say, oh, go ahead.
can I also say on Misty though, like I really do believe she is autistic. Like, she tries, it's, I think her just information dials differently. And I, as someone like mine, I can relate a lot to her. She is crazy and she does not do the right things. But I, like Misty, have done things that I didn't think, I thought I was doing the right thing at the time. And I'm like, wait, okay, that doesn't make sense to most people. But it was still was with like a good heart intention. But
Mhm.
now I think that you're right. Now that she's covering and now that she's hanging out and being with all of these other people like that. Because in the beginning, Misty was like that. But since she started to get this way and started to team up with Shauna, or, yeah, she's definitely a covert narcissist. But we all have narcissistic tendencies. So but I'm glad that we are separating what types are what and how and whatever. But she also isn't overt when she needs to be. So she's kind of all over the path.
Mhm.
But she's very shape shifting, and she's messy about her personality. She doesn't know what she is and she doesn't stick to it. And she just goes to whoever she sees as a strong leader at that point. Like she wants to be like Lottie. Now she wants to be like Nat in the present day, because that's where all her feelings are. And so she's being ruminating in these feelings and these emotions. And that's very like very autistic thing to do, or like Asperger's and things like that. Like you'll just get psyched on one thing. Like we are psyched on Yellowjackets, like we ruminate on Yellowjackets, but it is kind of what it is.
Mhm.
So I think it's a mix. and then put that with childhood trauma and not knowing how to process these feelings, and having these dominating people who are you were literally living in fear and rejection and these kinds of pains, um, and just people like lying to her. That's what she's used to because she's being deflected by other people. So in a sense, that's where she's creating this. And covert narcissism is a little different. It is actually a type of narcissism that is more learned than, like, it's something more that your product becomes of your environment. Whereas
Mhm.
like if psychopathic stuff is like kind of DNA. Whereas yeah. I mean, I'm not a pro at this, but I have done a lot of research and studying and therapy groups on it. So
Yeah. Um, okay. Well, let me see. Sorry. Freaking out the computer. Yeah, Misty, I don't know. She's just doing her Misty thing. I think um she really wants to be part of the inner circle, and I think that they still kind of see her as not part of the team, unfortunately, and we even see that, like, I think she just really wants to be close to Nat, and so I think we're gonna see more and more of that this season of her, like, just, like, it's not necessarily about being friends with everyone. I think she wants to be closest to power in a sense too, or at
she's the
least, like,
best one.
part of the inner workings or the inner circle, um, feeling like she's someone important or valuable.
She's
Um,
codependent.
yeah.
Until recently. She's super codependent, and that's what best cheerleaders are. Is you know
Well, and she's still kind of, yeah, it's interesting because she's gone through this sort of up and down because, she started season 1, kind of that loner, the outcast, and then she found Crystal and her and Crystal became friends, and so she has this sort of like, rise in her arc, and then now she no longer has Crystal, and there's trauma surrounding that, and there's secrets and lies and all that kind of stuff, and so how she's reacting to that, how she's going to keep that information to herself, or what's going to happen, or is more of that going to come out, like, as Miss T says here, if
storytelling.
Crystal comes back, like, we don't know what happened to Crystal. Was she taken by, like, was it an animal that came and took her body? Was it something else? And
The friend
kind
in
of
the tree. The friend in
my
the tree.
my favorite kind of thing to speculate is like the screaming in the woods or whatever, which is probably just like ravens. But like, I'm also really enjoying toying with the idea in my mind that it's like Crystal and she's like this like haunted, like, demented, like, she has like brain damage. So she's just kind of like a zombie-ish type like person that's, haunting the woods or something like
Well,
that.
they have that
Totally over
Slender
the top. It
Man.
would be fun.
The Slender Man is like a shrieking man, and you can hear their screaming and the children screaming when they're coming at night. But also those birds that echo each other. I mean, I know it's on that one show, but there are actually birds like that will echo each other and start. One will start in flocks of birds that will make those noises.
Yeah, okay, so
But
then,
oh, wait,
what
let
went
me
on?
say one thing though about before we go, because I, in addition to Misty though, when she's telling these things and her mind and where she's at, I think it's crazy how she's talking when she's talking to Nat, and she's like, "Well, I really helped you with you and your relationship and your breakup with Travis because of mine
Mhm,
and Coach Button's breakup." I
mhm,
mean, that line, it killed me because it was like, so it is delirious. And back to
mhm.
that yellow, and back to like where it is, like how she processes that.
Well,
It's just a lot different.
definitely. Yeah.
To her, that's very real. It's real to her,
Yeah.
and it was really true love for her. And as much as she didn't see it the right way, she was confused because she's living in a fairy tale in her own storytelling. And I think that she does that, to validate herself. And that's why I was saying, like earlier, I'm surprised when we saw Van and that whole masking of the ceremony that where was Missy? Like, why was she not trying to sing or give some speech or something? I'm surprised she wasn't there with Celine Dion.
Do you mean you mean the funeral scene?
Or any, I mean, any of it. Like, Yeah, funeral scene included, but I'm saying it with for the festival, not
Oh, yeah, it's
solstice
interesting.
festival.
Yeah, and that was another thing too. It's like, well, we'll get to that in a moment, but it was noticeable. Like they didn't bring up Crystal and they didn't bring up Laura Lee during the ritual. Now I think they lit lanterns for them because they did light 5 lanterns. So I don't know. It's interesting, but we'll get into that in just a moment. Um, Miss T, no, we have not talked about Coach yet, but we are going to get to him in just a minute. We're taking a little longer than planned, so I want to try and cruise through this next part. But I do want to mention with Travis what's been going on with him. So Mandy, as you mentioned, he and Nat broke up. We find that kind of, I think that's divulged in episode 2. Sorry, I'm trying to keep the episodes separate, but it is a little bit hard. Some of it's a little fuzzy. And also some of it's just relevant information like that. So it is relevant that, yeah, it seems as though Nat and Travis broke up, probably due to her taking on this sort of queen role and having these extra responsibilities and whatnot. So interesting that happened, sort of off camera. We don't really know what exactly happened. It doesn't seem like they're on bad terms or that he's like, particularly heartbroken or anything. I do think that it's very interesting that Lottie is completely like clung onto him. And now we talked about this, Mandy, during the wilderness stream where there was a few little things. So we had the first time we see the symbol on a tree is when Coach Martinez, so Travis and Javi's dad, when he dies and he's in the tree and he's impaled onto a branch. And then the branch falls, but he has, obviously he's bleeding. The blood's dripping. We see it drips onto Laura Lee and her teddy bear. And then after the branch breaks, they show the symbol carved into the tree right there. So, and then also we talked about how back during the seance, the blood hive seance, when they're talking, so right when Lottie first starts kind of having her when the window flies open and she kind of gets possessed or what have you, and Shauna says to her, Lottie, what is it? And when she says what is it, the camera pans right to Travis, and Travis isn't doing anything, he's just standing there. But what that tells me is that there's something to do with it, and this has kind of happened on a couple of separate occasions throughout the show, but it has something to do with Travis, I think, or some sort of like it's drawn to male energy. And I think it's looking for like the right vessel to maybe embody. And we had Javi. Javi was obviously like too innocent. He's kind of the sacrificial lamb. We had Shauna's baby, also, an innocent and also kind of like born in the wilderness. So it's sort of like, there's a lot of questions about that. Coach Ben, obviously, he rejects kind of the wilderness sort of ideology as far as, participating in the cannibalism or, just all of it in general. Like he lost a leg, so he's not really like the strongest candidate either. So we all know like Travis and like Doom Coming, he sort of has this stag king presence, right? So, long story short, we got through a lot of that. But what I was thinking, we have Lottie and she's very committed at this point to Travis connecting with the wilderness and connecting with it. And she's starting, you're communicating with it and this kind of thing. I'm starting to wonder if there was some sort of blood bond that happened or some sort of like, yeah, like a blood contract or something that happened with Travis's father when he died in that tree and his blood dripped. We have the symbol tree, and all of that. And so is Travis somehow like bound to the wilderness or it or something, there's some kind of like blood connection going on with him with that. Let me know what you guys think in the chat, but I'm really kind of starting to get that vibe. And so we see him in this scene, like Lottie's making him eat mushrooms. They obviously have mushrooms somewhere or have found mushrooms. and he's connecting with it, and he's like hearing these groans and these screams from the trees. And also he's kind of having these like wilderness like therapy sessions with Lottie, which is really interesting. He's I don't know. He it's just a lot of interesting stuff going on. So I have a lot of thoughts. Of course, this is very like, you know, there's a lot of mythology that's connected to the trees, and then of course, one of the things that I found when I was like reading about tree mythology was, of course, the world tree, which is like the axis mundi. So this is a sort of as above, so below kind of vibe, where this is an axis that connects, you know, sorry, I'm trying to say this as eloquently as I can. But basically it's like separating the cosmos kind of thing. So we have like the underworld, and we have like the heavens, and then the earth, right? And so the axis mundi is like a an axis point where the veil is thin, or something like that, which kind of seems to be happening in the wilderness.
Yeah, we've talked
Um
about that. I've talked about it a lot too in like I think it was season 2, 3 or 4 something, and 6 um as well. Yeah, and the Axis Mundi is like the Yggdrasil. When you go back, uh, it's all about the veil. It's about having access to each world, and being able to transport and go. And we do the Sic Gloria Transit, which kind of gives it a that the title is a throwback to it as well, because like you can get through the fire or through the tree, and at the cosmos and the tree. But either way, what as far as far as the top grows, the bottom grows down too. And so you have like this equal balance of forces in nature, and we start in like this pitfall of a seed. So it's
well,
very
and
spiritual, and there's a lot of different references to it. Actually, well, it's kind of like the tree. I have the tree thing here, but um
Well, and so yeah, like there's also like in Norse mythology, there's Yggdrasil, which is their world tree, and I believe like there's
tree of life.
bloodlines like connected to it, right?
Hmm.
Um and some of the imagery, like my mind is always brought back to that movie The Northman, where he has that like vision, like he sees that like his wife is pregnant, and it shows like from the world tree he can see like his father, but he also sees his unborn children. And so there
Like my
something like
mother and
that.
her unborn children. I'm sorry, let me get it.
Yeah. So that's kind of that's reminding me of. I'm like, so is Travis's bloodline somehow now sort of like intertwined with the wilderness? Is he like bound to the wilderness in some way that is beyond his control? It was something that his father did. And then if he is like, I mean, now I can't say for sure. Like, was he like was the wilderness drawing in Travis or the Martinez family? Like, did it need a male figure um to
Right.
connect the energy to? Or perhaps there's other, I don't know. This is like
Well, if you I told you we
because
watched the
it's like
Mayfairs.
Lisa and her grandmother, there's like this sort of inherited curse, but then we might have something similar going on. I don't know. There's just, I mean, it's a lot. We're
And
gonna
if
have to start like drawing. I'm having a Charlie moment. I'm having a Charlie connecting the dots moment. Okay.
it is a lot. It's a lot. You got to do your own research. We can't dig every wormhole for you.
We tried.
But there is. I told you on the Mayfair witches, they're actually talking about this stuff right now, and like the Telholts, and they're like these ancient forces of like the man and the female, and they go back to like the Druid century in Scotland, and it is about kind of similar with that vibe
Mhm.
as well. And you do need, you know, it goes back to this also. We all have this feminine male energy, and I actually feel like right now, like Travis is very like low on his male energy for sure. Like he's
Yeah.
so broken. He's such
He's like, I need some bro time. Like he has been
he's
around.
he's like Javi right now. Like Javi was when he was scared and like trying, okay, can I come with you, please? Or like, instead of like, I'm the man, like he was in this first couple of
Mhm.
seasons, but I should have the gun. Now he's like asking permission, and just, it's so sad. He has like hobby vibes now.
Well, one thing that Kevin Alva said is Travis he's just trying to survive at this point because, you know, they've already tried to kill him, like, during Doomcoming. They threatened him when Nat drew the Queen card. They've killed his brother, they ate his brother, his father's dead. They are, willing to hunt down Coach. So he's like, there's not like, um, being a guy isn't like doing me any favors. I need to just kind of keep my head down and go with the flow kind of thing, just to get through this. And so it's interesting, but I just want to say, like, I don't know if you guys ever experienced anything like this, but I swear watching Lottie like cling on to Travis the way that she does, I don't know if you guys ever remember this, like, from when we were young. There were these kind of girls that were kind of like that. Do you remember, like, there would be a girl, there's usually like one or two girls, and they'd have a crush on a guy, but they were like, it's not really like, oh, I don't have a crush on him. I don't have, except for they constantly wanted to be around him, and they're like, Travis, 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 like, and
Yes.
to the point where you'd have to be like, get away from him, just leave him alone for a few minutes. And like, I just remember, like, it was like a trigger moment while I was watching Lottie, because I was like, there were definitely girls that were like that would like glom onto a guy, and and he'd be like trying to go off and do his thing or go hang out with his friends, and she'd just be like trailing around, almost like very Misty style. Not Lottie. It doesn't seem like that would be normally a Lottie characteristic, but that's like kind of a Misty kind of thing. So it's just funny to see that behavior from Lottie towards Travis, because I was just like, that's just it's just interesting. It's just interesting. Just
Yeah.
tell me in the chat if you guys ever remember those kind of girls
Lottie
in
wants,
school.
I think it is like more fixation with her, and that she just wants, it doesn't even matter who she breaks or how, it doesn't matter what's happening. And instantly she shows up. As soon as she gets out, she shows up to Callie, and she knows, she's just connected with it, and she sees where the power is. So she goes to where it is. And I think she's obsessed with finding, like, pleasing it, because she does want that connection back. And she doesn't realize that the connection comes from inside of her, not from it. I mean, it's in her to come out, and so she's bringing it out in everyone else, and she thinks that that's gonna make it bring it out in her. Kind of like Misty too, because Misty's a giver. She's happy when she's cheering on the people. That's like kind of what her purpose is. But when you get found and you get off your purpose and you lose that, and you try to take the power of it and try to be a godlike character, or if you try to take the power of God and you become God and you idolize yourself, then
Mhm.
you're not going to get that. And that's where you get the miracles. Is this the difference between man-made, or is it actual, it like a power, and something beyond our recognition, beyond imagination, beyond being able to just, you can't control it. That's why Van is, understands. But again, Lottie is not afraid to just do those godlike behaviors to try
Mhm.
to, she knows she's not it, with nothing without it, but she wants to manipulate it, which could be back to that yellow.
Yeah. Um, I don't know. It's interesting. I heard Courtney Eaton say that she's like the Pope and Nat is like the state. Like, Nat's, doing the leading on a political level, where she's their spiritual leader, and she still accepts that. She's trying to kind of like take a little bit of a step back, but also like she knows that it's important that they're um that they are connected or trying to connect with it and hearing what it wants. And so, yeah, Travis being that sort of, because I think she does struggle, yeah, like you said, to hear it still. That's what she told us at the end of season 2. So if she can find someone that can hear it, then she's of course going to glom onto that person. Um,
she's a pusher, and Misty too, literally pushed off a cliff. The type of people who will push you off the cliff and who won't.
Yeah.
And she will.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean,
Yeah, I
she's
like the
definitely pushing Travis, to take more and more of, the mushrooms. And like, if you're any kind of person that enjoys your psychedelics, you should not be taking them that frequently,
I loved how
because you got to let your brain have a little bit of a reset, so that because you can make yourself go crazy, really.
yeah.
So
I also loved how Misty though, in comparison when she's getting really drunk, they said, yo, you had 7 shots of rail whiskey. Like when you derail somebody, and there's the whole context of the word derail. And when you look at it, it's about religion. It's about,
yeah.
you derail yourself, kind of like you push or backslid. And
Mhm.
there's something into that lingo and why they're picking it. The same reason Jackie said pining. Y'all go look up some definitions and read up some, like, because it's really fun to see what these little words that they're throwing us actually have these meanings connected.
Mhm. All right. So
So pusher,
they decide to have
pusher feel good.
their uh
Sorry.
solstice ritual, and Lottie is leading it. They are honoring their fallen comrades. They have 5 lanterns that they've made, and they're sort of sending them off to not start a forest fire in the middle of summer. Just saying, that would never happen. Anyways, no, it's a very flammable area, and fires, forest fires are a real problem in that region. So
Well,
like them sending up these lanterns was a terrible idea. But
Smokey
anyways,
the Bear's doing mushrooms. I mean, sorry, we can't.
well, maybe they're trying to get someone to find it. But anyways, thanks for being here, Mud Love Media, and everyone here in the chat. Definitely go check out his channel and give it a like and subscribe, because there's some great Yellowjackets content there. And Carl Karsnark, I saw you up here, so thank you for being here. I know it's late, and thank you all for being here. If you're here watching, I know it's late. Normally we do Monday morning streams, but we're just it was a holiday today, so you know how things go. But yeah, so anyway, so they decide to have their pagan ritual, their solstice, and they're honoring so they name Jackie as their person to guide them, Javi to watch over them, and then the child to deliver them. And of course, Shauna was not thrilled to be there, even though she was like an honorary guest. They had made her a beautiful crown, which she promptly threw on the ground. And it is a touchy subject, of course. Like, and that's the kind of the thing that she's so angry about, and that's what she was writing about. They're trying to make this all about miracles and sacrifices, and in reality, she's lost so much. Her best friend, her baby died, like all these things that are extremely traumatic. And obviously the other Yellowjackets are using their own ways of coping with their trauma, but yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's tough. And I love the look on Shauna's face. She is so angry. It reminds me of like an angry like bulldog. She's just like she's just got this scowl on her face. And shout out to Sophie and Elise for just playing the hell out of Shauna this season. Because it's just such a wild ride. And I don't blame Shauna for harboring all the anger and the animosity, and where is she supposed to put those feelings? It's a lot, and nobody else can relate to her. Nobody else has gone through anything even close to that experience. So she just feels very isolated and alone, and like lashing out at anyone. And I can totally understand. I've not been exactly there, but I've been sort of close to there, and it doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter. Somebody could breathe wrong and you're ready to cut them. So like, just sometimes it is what it is. And obviously she's allowed that kind of anger to consume her, because again, she doesn't have anywhere else to put it, or any way of letting it go. And she's just got kind of a bunch of people mentally coping around her. So it's like, what do you do, Shauna? What do you do? But she does have someone who is looking to be her friend, so she's going to find her way in there one way or another. Now, and that was nice also when we had that scene of Akila bringing Shauna the crown, and Shauna knocks it on the ground, and then Melissa kind of comes out of the cut and just stomps it. She's like, oops, my bad. That was like, it was nice to see Shauna have somebody kind of on her side.
I wanted to punch him. I didn't think it was nice at all. I was like, you dumb butts. I don't know. I wanted to say another word, but I'm just going to say that word. But that made me so mad. It wasn't nice to see it. That was mean.
Well,
girl.
I mean, and you know what? I blame Lottie for that. Like, why would you send Akila to bring the crown in? Like, you know what sort of response you're going to get, Lottie. Like, you should have had the balls to do that yourself, but whatever. We don't have to get into that.
Did Akila also make the crib too in that? Akila's kind of like the crafter here.
I can't remember.
I think she did.
Yeah.
Because she's the key.
She is sweet, Miss Akila.
I know. I think she's going to be eaten next. Like, I think she's going to be sacrificed by Lottie next. And I think that's like the crown. That's why she sent the crown, because that is why. Because Travis, do you think Travis is lying to Lottie about her being so close just to get her off?
I mean, yes, I do. I think it was just a way to get her off of his back. But I also think that Travis might think that. I don't think that the wilderness told him that Akila is, the one, but I think he's like, well, maybe she is, because I don't think that he's malicious in his intent. I think it was like a moment of desperation, and he just was like, well, yeah, Akila, I mean, look at how the animals respond to her. And I don't blame him. And she's, Lottie's been like tormenting him and forcing him to, she's drugging him and forcing him to take more and more and more. And he needed a break. And that was very clear right in that moment. And she just was unwilling to recognize that, because she's so caught up in her own BS that it's almost just like, dude, okay. And so, but it also made me think about, in season 2, when Nat's at the wellness center and she says her delusions have killed people. Remember when she says that?
Mm-hmm.
So it makes me a little bit concerned, because why would Nat say that or believe that about Lottie if that wasn't the case? And so what circumstances is that under? Clearly she's drugging people and forcing them to face these delusions or what have you, and putting them in a traumatic mind space. And so I don't know.
Yeah, the honey from the evil. But she also, like you see here, is like the beginning of her methods for the camp later on in life. Mm-hmm. Like you can see, and I really liked how she was seeing this, and it made me think, so now basically she's using all these methods not to heal people, to see who's closer to it, to see who is able to connect well with the animals, who connects the best with these types of methods that she's used in the past that bring her closer. That's where she gets these 4 little methods that she goes through before. That's what I think, I've been theorizing about, is because they weren't for healing strategies. They're for selfish gain, for her to see who she can use as a sacrifice.
And, her ritual at the wellness center that we saw in the first episode of season 2 is very similar to this, where they wear the white robes. They're, out in the woods. There's the animal, stuff. I think we're going to get, there's scenes in the trailer of them in these outfits. So obviously they're going to do another ritual sort of event. And I'm guessing it's probably going to be, probably in that episode called Thanksgiving Canada. But also I think that it's going to be sort of a Doom Coming 2.0 sort of situation where
Yeah.
their second annual Doom Coming. And because
Yeah.
in the trailer scenes where it shows them in these outfits, they're getting like way more crazy, way more, cutting loose and that kind of thing.
So it's interesting you say it said that was venison stew. Where are they getting venison? Are they really hunting venison? Truly?
Yeah, that's
Wow.
what so Jen is hunting now. So since
But
Nat
venison.
leading, yeah, that's deer.
Why?
So she said that the deer are running like crazy in the North Valley. So they've
Oh,
got, I mean, they're doing an awesome job. They've got, um, yeah, and you could see when Shauna and Melissa were butchering, they were at their little kind of butcher station. And they had these big cuts, and those, they were from because I was thinking the same thing. I was like, what are those coming from? Because they're raising the rabbits, they're raising the ducks, but they had large cuts. And so, yeah, they are taking out deer, they're taking out venison. And I love that. Like, they're like, yeah, it's whatever, deer stew or what have you. And then of course Ty is like, it's braised venison, with berry wine or something. She made it all fancy, of
well,
course.
so
Doing
I look at
that.
that when Shauna spit in it, and
Mhm.
like how Jesus spits into the dirt, and he heals a blind man before he goes into Calvary, and they have like all of these three crosses, and Shauna, obviously her son was the one, uh,
Mhm.
but like that DNA thing too, like she's spitting it
Yeah.
and then they spill it onto the earth. They're offering it in a sense. It's still blood.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
and
so
it's connected to her child's blood, which they
yeah.
and then she puts the whole rock on it too, like kind of like the Easter story with Jesus in the tomb, and where they seal him in the rock, and the three flowers going back is her. So I think that there's more to that. I mean, I want to break it down further, but like more professionally, y'all, not at 2 in the morning.
Yeah, they,
We'll
yeah,
do
I
it. I
think
want to do a video about it. So
that's an interesting point, Mandy, that,
and
uh because it was sort of I mean, that's what always happens to these guys. They are unconsciously, like, reigniting the connection to the wilderness and their, sort of ritualistic, like, connection that they have, and they will do it. Even with what we saw, with Ty and Van and the Fogwa I can't
yeah, well,
say it, with the cotton candy, because
the
we know,
steaks.
and we talked about this, Thaisa doesn't eat meat. She avoids eating meat. That's been made abundantly clear on several occasions. She avoids meat, but Fogwa is comes from duck. It's duck liver, like whatever. They overfeed a duck until he's like he gets fatty liver, and that's what it is. It's goose liver. And so even though it was the cotton candy or whatever, she's eating meat in that moment.
And Van
And
has
then of
liver
course
disease.
they go on the hunt. They have like what we call the reverse hunt. They basically did a reverse hunt in the restaurant scene with Ty and Van. And so anyways, there's these moments where and of course we've talked about this also with Lottie and Ty being the prophets and how they both avoid eating meat. So, and then later in the trailer scenes, there's all these shots of like Lottie eating meat and like covered in blood and all this kind of stuff. So, anyways, we're jumping ahead, but yeah. Uh,
No,
and
I mean
yes, wild
it all makes
marjoram.
it
I
makes
love
sense with that.
I
I mean,
loved that shout out for the fire. So they did mention, yes, they they basically maintained the cabin fire for 12 days and 12 nights like the Vestal Virgins. Like we talked about, yes, was there going to be like a sort of sacred flame that they're tending to? Yes, indeed there was. So they kept the fire burning for 12 days and 12 nights, and then the wilderness rewarded them with spring after that.
well, interesting though. Back to the DNA thing though, like Coach Ben, when he makes that trap, when he puts the acorns too, I recognize he was like did like a mucus snot thing, which is also
Oh yeah,
DNA. And he made the
interesting.
trap with the acorns, and he left that, and someone
Yeah,
had.
that was right before he found it too.
So I feel
Hmm.
like it's coming back. And Mari, like when she gets put in the base, then she gets brought to the underworld in a sense with Ben and the tree and to the other side. Like she's
Mhm.
unveiled in her eyes. It's a it's a little tricky, but like
Yeah.
go flow with it. Open your eyes to try to see that because when Shauna's shoving her in there, and if that is actually a sacrifice with Shauna's magical spit DNA, like
Yeah.
unveiling Mari's
Yeah, I don't know.
purpose.
It's interesting.
Get to go to see where Coach Ben is to get to that special place because technically that tree is supposed to be like the secret place, the secret cavern or the
Mhm.
secret tomb in a sense, and it is a tomb,
Mhm.
full of
The
these
man
things.
cave.
So just go with it, flow with it. If you guys have any
Yeah.
real wild ideas, please share. Like, if you get any other ideas too.
But I
Um,
like that idea that it was like an unconscious, like, blessing of the ritual when she spits into the soup, and then it's, yeah, given as, like, a sort of
yeah.
offering because it's in the food, and then you give the food as an offering, maybe to the wilderness or just as part of the ritual or what have you. So there is some, yeah, unconscious symbolism in that act.
And I think as well, like with the Vestal Virgins, let's talk about that. Van in the future, and when they're running and they're doing this backwards
Wait,
chase.
hold on. Before we get into that, let's just wrap this scene up because I wanna move on from this because
Okay,
we really
sure.
need to. We're getting way far behind.
Yes.
So, this end of this scene, they have their, basically they hear the wilderness come blasting through and make a bunch of noise. Like Shauna says, no, screw this. She walks away, and then the wilderness comes blasting through, and they hear on the wind, they hear screams of, I don't know if you guys were watching with the captions on, but one of the things it said was crying baby, and like a woman scream and all these different screams and sounds and stuff. And so Lottie looks at Travis and she says, is this what you heard? And yeah, it seems like it. So there's something going on with the wilderness. It's mourning, it's screaming, it's in pain, or it's imprisoned, or something like that. But that's kind of how that ended that part in the first episode. So sorry, I just wanted to get that wrapped up. And then, so let's go back to it. So the Vestal Virgins go.
Yes, because we're virgins. Van was not doing anything sexual, and she opened up to Ty that night, and then that's when Ty was again unveiled, and that's when they like when she started to embrace that love or kiss and then they did ended up doing it that night, and then the next day she's hurting her foot like in the same place as a sacrificial like Jesus, or if they were to put them off with her hand. Her hand is burnt, right? Or
Hmm.
her foot as
Hmm.
well. So,
Interesting.
um, yeah, like where they put it on the cross in a sense, and then here we are seeing the guy die when they started connecting, and Van stopped being a virgin in a sense. Like, has she rededicated to herself in a sense? And Ty is
Yeah.
like a predator. She's literally preying on this
Hmm.
because they were in separate bedrooms. They have this whole giant thing about, well, you're still married, you're doing this. It was very triggering for me with situations, but like I was like, yeah, man, don't go with her. You put your foot down. Boundaries, girl, boundaries. And then now the veil's lifted and the boundaries. And I really liked how they did this scene actually, like how they stepped into the light. And you can see
Yeah.
because Van's been in such a dark place,
Hmm.
and Thais says she don't even care if it's light or dark. If she's in the light, but her dark side is whatever. But they're stepping in together, and I just thought it was so beautifully done. But like as soon as she steps through that veil of light and dark, all of a sudden you see the man with no eyes because the veil's open.
You know what was so insane to me also is like that contrast of like, okay, so we open the episode, hold on, I just want to show you guys this picture really quick. We open the episode with this like beautiful, like romantic, sort of dreamy moment with these two. And again, going back to the yellow, okay? Like what does the yellow filter mean? Um so then and then we get back, when they're in the other room, and um Van is like telling Ty, she's saying, What was the reason that you broke up with me to begin with? Was for the veneer of respectability, but it turns out you were gay and you married a woman anyways, and it's just this irony and all of this.
No, irony so real.
And it's just such a juxtaposition from like that beautiful, like romantic, like they're so happy. And so then kind of wondering about that unreliable narrator idea with the yellow filter. What does that actually mean? Like, was it truly this like romantic, or were they kind of romanticizing it in their minds, which tends, things that's not something that's uncommon when it comes to
Yeah.
exes and that kind of thing. Like, you'll romanticize things that were actually like a nightmare at the time. But I just loved that massive like contrast to those two scenes where they're so in love and everything really seems to be going really well while they're in the wilderness and they're together and they're in love and they're strong, versus back in reality. And we get such a big piece of information by knowing that it was Ty broke up with Van because she wanted to have it all, be a high power lawyer, go to the fancy school, live in the fancy city. And Van doesn't like it at all. Van doesn't want anything to do with that. I mean, obviously they try to go out to the fancy restaurant. Van is like, don't you just want to take a torch to this place, which I'm sure has no implications whatsoever. But
Yeah, no, but like you could tell. Okay, so she's just trying to make Van happy because she's trying to be pleasing right at this moment. Like, this is the cycle of trauma and abuse. This is a cycle of what it does, especially like violence. And when in a relationship, is like she's trying to do whatever she has to do to win Van's heart back. But once she did, and she got the fire and she lit it, and she realized the sacrifice. Here she is now bringing home takeout food, and Van coming back from the hospital. You're like, you've been there the whole time and not really like how's your hand? How's this? It's like where you've been the whole time. It's not
Mhm.
really worried about what's up with you. It's about where you are in location to what is convenient for Thaisa. And
Yeah.
there was some comment she says, it's like, oh, well, um, let me find it. I don't know. Oh, I'm not sure actually. I lost it. I lost myself. But anyway, it was just like, you see the next day that it's kind of back to again what it
Yeah.
is, like the normal thing, and Van sees it. And there's the wilderness chase thing was all about it, and like that whole ditching game. We see them. It's all about playing games. Like they're playing Ollie Ollie Oxenfree, ditching the game. They're talking about like the diner on Route 9 and Amber Nuttings. Like the fire nuttings. I don't know. I kind of took that as like, when you're on fire and you're loving a relationship and then you're getting it off, and then it's like, okay, you eat your dinner, but you're getting your cheap dinner instead
Mhm.
of your actual like life. I
Yeah.
don't know. A flamethrower, ambers, fires of
Yes. Well, so I think
wordplay.
that there's okay, so as far as the restaurant scene goes, how I interpreted it, it was a reverse hunt, okay? Because they start with food, they start with they're eating, they're in the restaurant, they're eating. So that's like usually the end, how the end would normally go. And then they have they're separate from each other, so it's almost like a flank move. Like Thaisa leaves and then Van leaves, they're almost like a flank move. And then their prey, they lure him out that way. So like if you look at it in the grand scheme of things in reverse, because then he's coming out, he's like, what's going on? And then they're running. It was just like a reverse
Yeah.
hunt scene
It
was
gave them,
what
and
kind of
also
how I
you're going out
interpret it.
the back door. Like in a sense, the back door is meant for like spiritual death and things like that with your body. I mean, it's it's a stretch, but it's the truth. And then you're
Mhm.
talking about how like she had to call a guy to call a guy. So we go back to that calling and telephone and all the other episodes where she's calling and opening the veil. She's calling another guy to open. So she called, who did she actually call? The man with no eyes, in a sense. The
Oh,
name of the
that's an
restaurant
interesting
is
point.
Past Me. Pat, you passed me. passed
That's an
away.
interesting point. Or
Possibly.
maybe, actually call the
You
guy,
passed me.
but like she's like, all right, I'll let us go to dinner and I'll, send one your way or what have you.
Yeah. Well, I think doesn't like the Disney Hercules Hades is like I had to call a guy.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Like I don't know.
But yeah, so it's interesting. And then of course, yeah, she does see the man with no eyes over her shoulder, like basically once Van kisses her. And it's almost like Van was truly the prey to begin with all along. Like, yeah, they went through the reverse hunt. Yeah, somebody died in the situation. They ate meat. But the real prey that Ty was going after was Van in that situation. And then as soon as they have that moment where they like flip, and of course Ty is on top because she's top Ty, and she's like going in for the kill and kissing Van really hard, and then she sees the man with no eyes over her shoulder, and that switch in her happens,
She
that
pounces
little
her.
change that, and I'm surprised, and maybe Van did notice, but maybe she didn't notice, but Van's, she's the one who's like the most in touch, and so who knows, maybe she
She's
likes
thinking
it a little
virtual
freakier.
insanity the next day.
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
she comes out and says that it's bad. We should go back, you know?
yeah.
So
All right. So let's before we get too
Ant-Man
far
came to
ahead of it,
collect
let's
the
wrap up a
soul.
couple other things the other adults had going on. So basically, let's get into Shauna and Callie. So Callie has been she overhears some girl, like basically they're trying to just get back to normal. Like Shauna just wants to get back to normal after the whole events of season 2. She's just done with the whole thing. She wants to just move on, everyone, like get back to our
And
normal
nothing
lives.
happened.
And
Pretend nothing
Callie,
happened is what she wants to do.
what?
Like a psychopath. Oh, I didn't do anything. Nothing happened. Just let's pretend nothing happened.
Yeah, well, I mean, also at this point, it's like they have done this, like they've been through this a few times, so like it's maybe not as new. Like I assume they've been through this, once or twice before. It sounds like they have. Certain anniversaries bring the crazies out and that kind of thing. So but Callie has not been through all of this trauma. She's never gone through, or she doesn't know the family secrets and all that kind of stuff, and so she's struggling to just kind of get back to normal. She's smoking weed out of her window and what have you. And then she goes to school and she hears these other girls talking about her mom behind, basically behind her back. And they are looking at the old pictures at Wiskeok of the Yellowjackets team because they have sort of a shrine to them there. So the girls are looking at it and they're pointing out, oh, that one, she's pointing out Lottie, that one was their guru. And they were sacrificing pigs and rubbing the guts all over each other and having orgies and all this kind of stuff. And mind you, Callie's just around the way. She hears this whole conversation happening, and they're like, we should get Kyle drunk and see if Callie's into freaky stuff and all this kind of stuff. And so Callie, being her mother's daughter, she gets some guts Uber Uber whatever. They're taken to the school. And she decides to become an initiate of the Eleusinian mysteries.
Hold on. You can't just pass Swift Eats without Randy. Okay, come on. MVP.
Oh, yeah.
MVP.
Well, Randy.
He got back. He got back with his wife. Let's just everybody round of applause.
Tammy took him back one more time.
Tammy took him back. So I don't know. I wonder what happened to the strip club, Joy. Like, I love that he worked at the strip club. Yeah. So I don't know.
What happened to Lilith's lair? Is someone else managing the place now, or? Yeah, it is kind of funny. I mean, I suppose if I was Tammy, I wouldn't want him working there either.
See, that was a purposeful interruption. Okay, continue. We can't forget Randy. That was just so awesome. And I love that he's riding in on the scooter, delivering the guts.
Yeah.
Like as he was trying to deliver his guts in the bathroom. Spill it. Let's spill it up.
Oh, Randy.
In a bag, right? Remember? Yeah. And here we are.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And
He's the
here's
bag
Callie
boy.
trying to be she's like the reverse it girl. Like an it girl is like a popular girl who like makes a handbag actually like in designer clothes and in fashion. The it girl's like, she rocks the handbag, or this certain person wears like capris or something, or this person wears this certain style, or like the girl with the unibrow, like the it girl in a certain sense. And or like here, like Twiggy, like that's what's supposed to be my haircut, but didn't do it, whatever. Like that was terrible. Yeah. Twiggy. But it girl, and now she's like, okay, I'm not being popular at school, but I'm gonna become the it girl. And she does like the reverse opposite of the hunt too. So I kind of like that's where we're going with it. Anyway.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. And yeah, it could be a number of them, really. I mean, maybe Callie is the it girl. Maybe it was always in
Well,
in
she
reference to
was the
her.
Shauna, which is fucked up. I mean, messed up. I love this. But like
I
it
love
was
this shot. So we
it
talked
took
about Shauna's Kubrick stare photo, and then of course this was during that same scene and it was just a really quick flash of Callie
so
doing the
good.
stare also. But yeah, so basically she Uber Eats a bag of guts from wherever, and then she takes it and dumps it on the table for those girls who were saying all those nice things about her mom. And she's like, well, my mom packed my lunch today, but I just have way too much. And of course, if you guys have been watching the channel for a while, we've talked a lot about the Greek mythology aspect of things, and the Eleusinian mysteries, which are hugely, obviously, an inspiration to the whole Yellowjacket story in general. And so, part of that ritual involves a pig, and that's so we've talked about that a lot. If you guys want to check out the Greek mythology
And
live stream,
in
definitely.
cannibalism, they call humans man pigs. So
The long pig, yeah.
long pig, yeah,
Yeah,
the
there's
long pig.
there's a lot of pig, like, in mythology, a lot of, like, pig symbolism as, like, a stand-in for humans.
And I love how
So,
Jeff was like, "Were they real?"
yeah. The
Jeff, good
girl?
old Jeff.
I loved that whole scene, that conversation between Shauna and Jeff was literally one of the funniest things I've ever seen. I think I might have a picture of it, but yeah, just the two of them like in the kitchen, chatting or what have you. I was just laughing so hard because Shauna, she's just baked and Jeff is like, what is happening right now? He's like, you let her go get a boba tea? What?
Well, this is
Um,
it. They're triangulating each other, and Shauna is just trying to be as cool as Callie because Callie's the new queen. And Callie
yeah.
is like, even with, Lottie just showing up, and she's like, Misty, do what I say. And I mean, oh, I can't wait to see what happens with Callie's character.
We'll get into that. We'll get into that. So, all right. So this about kind of like, oh, and then Misty was getting drunk. Okay, that was kind of what was happening. So she's mourning. She's really mourning Natalie. She's feeling a lot of immense guilt, and she decided to kind of embody some of Misty's or some of Nat's personality traits. She goes to the storage unit. She finds Nat's a bunch of her obviously her old stuff, but she finds her leather jacket, and so she starts to take on some of those personality traits, and we're seeing a lot of those similar, um like what we've seen with Jackie sort of haunting Shauna in her adult life. Now we're starting to see Natalie haunting Misty in her adult life, and we see that kind of cut to where she's like, you don't have to take shit from anyone. And so Misty's really trying to step out of her shell and drink
So
too much. I swear to God,
is
Misty
it
is like that's me. That's me trying to act tough. Is like,
dead teen Natty or dead ass Jackie? Vote now. Who's
yeah,
derailing first?
there you go.
But and then of course because they talk again about the dirt bags, the bags. So there's something more about the bags here and the it bag and the things, and you don't have to take the shit from anybody. And she gets into the fire, lighting crotches on fire,
Mm-hmm.
and life's a game. We all are it, and there's so many mentions about like the ditching games and all the little games the next episode as well. I love that she also was the jacket. I want to say is like a mantle, and if you are into like religious prophetic mantles, is like when you take a mantle of a prophet, or they were like actual, like you earn your Letterman jacket, for example. It means you're a certain quality of that person, characteristic, or team, or that prophet in the Bible. The mantles were passed on to new people. And originally mantles were made out of animal skins and animals, like, little things like that. So, and then now they're kind of more metaphorically. But yeah, it's really interesting how that rolls out with her. And we see Misty literally word for word saying a lot of stuff Nat says in season one. And some of the episodes like, Misty, where are your friends? And like to Walter, poor Walter. Oh, poor Walter. Walter is really just loving. And Walter's just like Misty to Nat. Like that whole relationship, how Misty was to Nat and trying to figure out about Travis and the dead. So now Travis has been replaced with Nat, and Misty is acting just like how Nat did with Travis.
Mm-hmm.
Like the love of her life, and she's literally saying the same things, like, the bonds that we had. I don't believe it. This is that. You don't understand it. And I think it's, I don't know. It's in a sense, it's kind of like a poetic. Reminds me of like a Shakespeare play.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a love that the only kind of love that she knows what to do is act out these things. Like that's what
Mm-hmm.
we were talking about earlier. And here she is getting true love from Walter. The kind of like, I'll help you bury dead body love. And
Mm-hmm.
she's pushing it away. And Walter's like, no one answered to W, Misty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Why?
it's
Why? Why?
yeah,
Who, what,
it's
when, where, why?
interesting. Um,
Sad.
it's interesting that yeah, that but there's still, Walter's always scheming. Walt Havocsham, he's always
Yeah.
scheming. So there's always something. So even when he leaves the storage unit key for Misty, there's a little bit of there's a little mysteriousness to it, and of
Well,
course he's always there. So he is kind of that boyfriend that's always there, to the point where it's like, it's too much. But at the same time, like Misty has never had anybody that's cared about her at all or anything. And so it's kind of a weird dichotomy of like, don't push him away, because obviously he does love you and care about you, and are you going to find someone else like that anytime soon? And trying to decide if Walter is actually authentic or if he has some ulterior motives that we're unaware of quite yet.
I mean, I think he is authentic now. But ironically, are we gonna see like some Romeo and Juliet stuff where Walter ends up killing Misty the same kind of similar way that she killed Nat? Because this is where it's playing out. They're playing out literally right after each other, and that's the thing that like narcissist, psychopathic people tend to do is they'll literally repeat things that were pushed upon them, and that's trauma abuse is word for word. They'll take things that they felt, and they felt the trauma, and then they'll deflect it. And she's doing the exact same thing, and projecting it now instead of deflecting it and calling out other people, she's internalizing it, but she's projecting it.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, just notice
Mm-hmm.
we all do these things. It's normal, and we all catch on from each other, but it's just like we can only grow if we recognize these types of trauma responses and abuses and things. And a lot of things we don't even recognize we do. Like I do things every single day. I have to catch myself, or I'll be later on be like, oh man, I was a crotch burner. Who knows?
Yeah. All right.
I'm dangerous, okay?
Well, let's move on to the second episode. Here we are being very timely as per usual. But let's go ahead, Mandy, if you
Nobody's
would.
dying tomorrow.
Before we
Hopefully.
reconvene in hell, will you read our episode description?
All right. Thanks for all for keeping in so long. Here we are, episode 2. Dislocation. The Yellowjackets are stuck, deciding whether to track down a missing, irritating teammate or just trip out on mushrooms and forget it all. Shauna secures a spot on the world's most unsupportive partner list, and Misty finds herself tangled in the intimate chaos of sleepover parties. Truly, last time we had a sleepover on the Yellowjackets was Blood Hive, and this ritual is very, very part of something. Let's get into this.
Okay, and also before we hold on just one second before we go too far, let's get our music and stuff. So this episode was directed by Bill Woodruff, who also directed season 1 episode 6 Saints, and this episode was written by Rich Monahan and Ameni Rosa. And our we had a little trouble deciding what song to choose as far as our music choice of the week. So we're kind of torn between two because, I have just been so happy, or so like I wanted this person to be on the soundtrack for like many years now. So Fiona Apple, Criminal by Fiona Apple, of course. But how are we supposed to like argue with Virtual Insanity, right, Mandy?
I mean, literally, both are two of my favorite songs ever. So yeah, you just Mad Hat Man vibes. Matt, that Virtual Insanity with the dislocation of the moving floor. Perfect.
Mhm.
Where are we going? Where are we doing? Bands on the couch in that commercial when she's singing
Mhm.
it. And he's like, you see him on dancing on, and he's got that black couch in the video.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's one of my favorites. And I mean, Criminal, like,
Yeah, Fiona Apple, it was very awesome to hear her. I hope we get to hear more because I know she has like her, what is it? I want to say some anniversary of that album is, and I don't want to name years because you know what, we're not trying to point fingers at
like
anyone as far
35
as
or
age
something.
goes, yeah, she's got an
30.
anniversary album or reboot coming out this year, so I was really hoping that they were going to get her on the soundtrack this year, and so hopefully maybe we'll hear some more from her. Maybe we'll have a Tori Amos type situation where we hear a couple of songs by Fiona Apple. But of course, Virtual Insanity, it was like such a moment, when we were young. I want to say they won best music video
Yeah, I think so.
it was either 96 or 97
They
at
did. I
the
love.
Video
She
Music
didn't know
Awards.
the words. She's just like da da da. But it's funny because like my kid was on the couch. I know they should be watching Yellowjackets, but he's playing on his iPad while I'm just like rewinding every couple minutes anyway. So he's not really like getting it. But when that song came out, he started rocking it and singing it, and I was just like, yes, yes,
Mhm.
doing
Mhm.
something right. Or am I insane? Like,
Are you virtual
or
insanity?
let me know the way before there's hell to pay. I'm not sure.
It's what we're living in. Yeah. Yeah, I really like that song. I was so happy to hear it. I was so happy to hear Van singing it. I mean, it was just funny. And I am choosing to believe that it is a hint because let's think about it. Virtual Insanity, future made of virtual insanities. Anyways, they say we all live underground. So, anyways, I'm choosing to believe. Sorry, I had to get the lyrics. Anyways, I'm choosing to believe that it's a hint that we are going to get underground tunnels. We all live underground, you know? Okay. So, long story short, that's happening.
Or lay low and let me go.
All right. So this episode opens with Coach. And sorry, we didn't really get into Coach during episode 1, but Coach is killing it out there. So he discovered
That
basically when he was out kind of foraging and searching for what he's searching for, whatever he can find really with his one leg, and bless him. But
it's fine. I love. I am so like I'm so hot for Coach Ben.
I would
Like,
literally watch a straight up, like, I would watch a Coach Ben only show at this point. I'm
yeah,
telling you that when Coach Ben found the bin, found the stash, I lost my mind even more so than when I saw Shauna and Melissa. Like, I just was so thrilled for him. I was like jumping. I was like, yeah,
well,
I was so excited for him.
ironically, I don't think he would have found it had he not had his crutch. Everything
Yeah, I
happens for a
mean,
reason, because if he would have just been walking over it, he heard it, stepped on it, boom, like, what is this?
yep.
So, in a sense, was that his finally like karma coming back around, or like how he
I
didn't eat?
Yes. I think that there's something to it, like the wilderness gave him a boon. Like
Mhm.
he's like, and I think that it's all part of like the wilderness's, larger design or scheme of things, or its game that it's playing. But I think
The
that
latter.
it's like we need to keep this guy going because he's going to be valuable in some way, shape, or form at a certain point. Or we're gonna, the wilderness can use him as a way to teach the girls a lesson, or he's he's still a player.
Yeah. What is
The
the
wilderness has not forgotten about Coach Ben.
So I have a question. What, and I didn't look it up, so maybe y'all can tell me or you can tell me, what does that box, those letters stand for? Did we know?
Very good question. So the box had the letters KUH on them, and actually, my husband and I went on a little rabbit hole trying to figure things out about that, because if you guys are new to the podcast, my husband, he's a hunter. We live in Alaska, so we're very like close to the wilderness. But yeah, so he's a very outdoorsy kind of guy. He was also in the military. And so I always go to him and I'm like, what does this mean? What should they do? He has some very interesting insight on what they should have done with the moose who was stuck in the lake. But anyhow, so
I think he needs his own like how they built, or what they would do to build the shelters. I think you need to make him do that for your
I'm
channel.
fine. I tried to get him to come on tonight. I was like, can you just come on for a minute and talk about Coach Ben or something? But he's always like,
And he kind of looks
but
like Coach Ben right now. Like, I mean, he's got a big old beard like that. Like, he's like the wilderness lumberjack guy.
it's true, Andy. I am. I'm
He
an
is.
honorary fellow jacket that lives in the wild. I do. I'm a disgusting wilderness
My
person.
son
Um,
thought it said bra, like the bro box. I was like, "Oh, that's
yeah.
a bro
Well,
box,
so it
a
said,
video game.
yeah,
The
yeah.
bro box. What up, bro?
Okay, so it's KUH was on the box. And so I started doing some research. The only thing that I could really find, um, and I don't think is connected to it, was like these Korean utility helicopters. Okay. Very random. That was the only thing that I could find with the KUH that was sort of like military, sort of whatever. So it leads me to believe I don't think that it's anything real that we have anything connected to. And I was trying to figure out, okay, so what could the initial stand for? What could they be connected to? I honestly I just couldn't really think of anything that's very good. What I know about the boxes are like they can be used as a cooler, they can be used for storage, they're watertight. Obviously, he had a bunch of MREs in there, so he had it's emergency rations. He had bear spray in there. He's got, a bunch of like food supplies, and little gas cans for cooking, for lanterns. What I think there was even a bigger gas can that was in there. And so there's a lot of stuff that is really going to help him survive and get by, and like not even have to think twice about maybe I should go back to like be with the girls or something like that. Now it is something that he might be able to use for trading power, and now we can see that obviously because Mari showed up, and that was like an extra boon. So basically he had the hole, which presumably is going to become the pit girl hole later in the
What, ab-
story.
what about like
But
the Kodiak, the Union Hub, where they have like pipes? There's like pipes where they remember, because if they're doing all the mining and the pipes and like metal workers, it's like a whole pipe fitting that, and that could have been something to do with like the pipe workers that are going out there for things.
maybe it kind of depends on when they were going out there, or like when, and like, realistically, like I was like, I mean, they're out in the middle of nowhere, so it just kind of depends on like, um, yeah, but we do have this sort of energy like vortex zone that they're in. So like what could that possibly mean? Could it be sort of a Bermuda Triangle effect? Like where, the symbol, they're in the symbol, right? And we know it has sort of some sort of energy like vortex kind of symbolism going on, but does could it have some sort of space time continuum like quantum overlapping of locations or something, like where a wormhole situation, or I don't know. I'm
Well,
not
it
a
definitely
genius.
does on this channel, that's for sure.
But so yeah, so it's just kind of interesting. That's kind of far-fetched anyways, um but clearly there has been some traffic out there, whether by miners or was dead cabin guy the last person out there. And we talked about during the wilderness stream, like he had his plane out there. There's a plane out there, it was full of gas. He didn't try to leave with it, so like we don't know what the purpose or why he didn't try to leave. But if the stuff is like buried as like a stash, then obviously why, like why, so there's a lot of questions that these supplies pose to us. Like, why are they hidden? Who put them there? Where did they come from? Like, what, there's a lot. There's a lot to speculate on that we really don't have a lot of information on. But I am very, very happy for Coach Ben that he found all that stuff. I was so stoked that he found it all. And it gives him a lot more power just to survive, but also as like a human out there. And we also see that moment where yes, I have seen that. Yes. So he does return, but we'll get into that. But yes, so yeah, so he sorry, I lost my train of thought.
I thought it had to go with each other. Sorry.
No, I can't remember what I was going to say, but anyhow, but yeah, so I don't know. It's really interesting. And then, of course, we get sort of a secondary boon from the wilderness because he covers up the hole. He drags out the supplies. He covers up the hole. He's like, perfect. This is a new, hunting spot. I can catch some game in here. And I love that at the end of the episode where he's starting to like approach the hole and he hears this kind of whimpering. And, in his mind, he's like thinking it's a deer because deer do make sort of some whimpery kind of cries. A lot of times like the sounds they make kind of actually sound like a human baby. Interesting. And but it's actually Mari in the pit, and of course there's so much to that. Mari pit girl, Mari leg theory.
What about the drippings? When
Well,
she
what do you
hears the
mean?
dripping sound, right?
Yeah, Mari seems haunted by that. And we never really got any confirmation on
Exactly.
what that could have been, especially before the cabin burned down. So that's interesting. I wonder if there will be any follow-up to that.
That's what I was just thinking with this hot chocolate.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely the we've been waiting for you. And I think in that scene too with Jackie as well, they don't start talking until after Jackie starts drinking that hot chocolate. Then she starts to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
there's a lot of, yeah.
and so the next question was too for me when I thought about that chocolate, because I don't think Mari's dead, or if that's like an evil Thai Coach Ben version or whatever. I think it's more what is in that package, because it's covered with like aluminum, right? And yes, they're gonna stay, but if the sulfur, or if they're in those mines there that are mixing with the metal and the metallurgy there, and the kind of components that it's making, and is it like bringing out chemical extracts and things like that in that hot chocolate? You
I don't
know?
think so. I mean, maybe in the water, but like that box that all that stuff was in, that's a very secure, watertight, like chemical tight, like
But he's mixing it with the water.
he is mixing it with the water. So there is like if there was some sort of effect, it's not going to be coming from those supplies. Those are all like brand new, perfectly out of the package. Like that's the best thing that's the cleanest, most precious thing you could find out there in the wilderness. But the water, though, that's another question. And we've talked about that a lot. Is there some sort of mineral like leaching into the water that could be affecting their frame of mind, or parasites or something like that, which, we talked about the parasites last week. I think if there was a parasite situation, we would see more symptoms from it, whether it's in their poo or in like just symptomatically, like trichinosis will make you like swell up and become really sick and that kind of thing. And they would all be, showing signs or symptoms if there was something like that going on. Andy, the Mari leg theory, you're in the right place because it's my theory. So Mari leg theory is that something was going to happen to Mari's leg. And there's been a lot of symbolism that's been going back to the pilot episode with Mari's leg. Where it's just always just out there, just looking like something's going to happen to it. It's going to get cut off. It's going to get broken. Something is going to happen to Mari's leg. And I've been saying this since back in season 1. And then, lo and behold, we got Mari leg theory came to fruition, in the Dislocation. So I was pretty excited about that.
So it says, I'm just kind of looking right now with the aluminum and like the acids and alkaline stuff, but even like the berries, their scents are so acidic, it actually does after time create some things, but high levels of acid stuff. So they could be tripping on that acid, which why we're getting these acid mushrooms.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely a concern. Like that there could be a mineral leaching thing that they're exposed to.
Oh man,
As
that's
much as anything else, like as much as parasites, or because that was definitely something we've explored like throughout the
I've
podcast of like
experienced. I've experienced leaching. It's very real, and you don't realize how much like just your iron oxide, like just like mercury glass, for example. Like if you have mercury bulbs and they reach a certain temperature, air temperature in the air, they can ionize with like you put a bunch of coins in a bowl and a light bulb, and all of a sudden you're getting an ionic reaction that is releasing mercury gas from your light bulb, just from metals touching each other and certain metals. And it's a very real thing. And here it is all on the surface and in that box too. And with that tin cup. It's in the tin cup.
Yeah, I mean,
Anyway,
I'm not inclined to believe that it's coming from that. I am more inclined to believe that it's coming from the environment.
Well, it's all of the above, everything. What is it? We're dislocated. Is it the cup? Is it the water?
I think the box is a boon for Coach Ben to survive because the wilderness has other plans for him. So so Mari's stuck in the pit. Mari, there's a lot of pit girl shared imagery going on, obviously, between the running scene in the beginning and then her ending up in the freaking pit. I do think there might be some misdirection because I personally, I'm still not committed to believing that Mari is pit girl. I think there are alternatives, but you know what? We don't know for sure yet. I do think that it was significant though that while they were playing the game, just to go back, when they were playing Capture the Bone, Mari was the decoy. Okay, so we're watching, we believe she's pit girl, she's kind of reenacting the running scene and all of this, and then it turns out she's the decoy. But who is the one who ends up in the goal? But Jen. So Jen's an option. Like I don't discount Jen being an option for being pit girl. Or we have another new background teen character named Robin, who could potentially also, she kind of looks similar. It just like, the long dark hair. So it's, it's difficult to say at this point.
I still like
But
Callie. Your theory with Shauna sacrificing Callie is the
or
best.
Callie, yes. Even you know what? Even
I mean,
Sarah
our theory, I don't
Desjardins,
know.
she
What,
likes that theory.
yeah, everybody.
The
I don't know
woman who
where we.
plays Callie, she actually really likes that theory. She wants that theory to be real.
I mean, it makes sense that they, she is like the queen now, and that they're gonna sacrifice her because at the end of the whole time they're trying to save the queen when really they just need to sacrifice the queen.
Yeah.
That's how you win in chess.
All right. So, okay, going back to this question, Teo Mayo, have you seen the screen grab from the trailer with Coach Ben chilling in the camp with the girls? I have seen that. There's it was from the trailer. There's basically a shot, and yeah, he's sitting at the camp with them. So we do know eventually he's going to go back. So the question is, and I didn't see Mari in that shot. However, there is more shots of Mari in the trailer, one of which she's actually using the bear spray and spraying someone with it. So the question becomes, is Coach now, if Coach goes back to the camp, is he gonna, like, maybe he's gonna keep Mari hostage in that time? Like, he's like, look, I'm gonna go to the camp, I'm gonna do hostage negotiations. You're the only thing that's keeping me alive, so you have to stay here. You're not coming with me. And he blindfolded her when he led her to the cave, so she doesn't exactly know where she is. So it's interesting. I actually would kind of love to see Mari be Coach's hostage, and like her actually, I mean, she's got a bunch of good food. It's not like the worst hostage situation. She gets like, Stockholm syndrome or something like that from hanging out with Coach in the cave. But of course, there is tons of underworld symbolism as far as that whole thing goes. And Mari is between the hot chocolate, between falling in the pit, between entering the cave, there's a lot of this shared symbolism with Mari and characters who have died in the story so far, whether it be Jackie, whether it be Javi. There's some parallels going on there. And so does that mean that Mari is going to die? Is she going to be next? I don't know. It's a good question. Or is it a misdirect? Also, that could work as well. And a lot of people really hope that Mari survives and that she could be, an adult character. I'm not a huge fan of that, but whatever.
You have put her and Aquila and Missy kind of all together as like the Fates, and I like that idea with those three, how they were in season 2, that they just were kind of like the 3 witches, and they all have their parts in the underground, the underworld.
Yeah, the Eumenides. Actually, I have this great
Yeah, I mean,
photo.
what did I say? The Fates. Yeah.
Yeah, the Fates, but the Furies though. Let me see. Do I have this? Where did I save that photo? I have such an awesome photo. I want to show you guys. Let me find it. Whoops.
Yes. Yes, Jasmine C. There are so many unanswered questions, as I saw your comment before, but yes, we were talking about that, and we're hoping that maybe this has something to do with the cave. We'll see. It was kind of unanswered.
I want to find this picture because I really want to show you guys. Actually, maybe
good morning. Wait, sing the Cat Stevens song.
let me see. Morning has broken. Here it is. Like the first morning. Sorry, I'm singing. I'm not a singer.
Sing
okay.
it, baby. Sing it.
Okay, this is the photo I wanted to show. Oh my god. It's so good.
Wait, we are the Monday morning podcast still, or at least we are morning podcast still.
Somewhere. Okay, this is the one I wanted to show you. So this was from a trailer, and
that's like
this is the Eumenides, you guys. Like we talked about a couple weeks ago about the Oresteia, the Greek, myth, or the Greek sort of tragedy of Orestes, and it's about Apollo and Clytemnestra and Agamemnon and all of that. So it's post Trojan War. punishment, familial justice. But anyways, the Eumenides, which are also called the Furies or the Erinyes, which are these sort of vengeful goddesses from the underworld who they bring justice. They serve like familial justice, so it's not just any sort of just thing. It has to do with family injustices. And so this has to do with after the Trojan War, Agamemnon returns to Argos. He had killed his daughter Iphigenia during the war in order to gain favorable winds so they could sail into war. Well, of course, his wife Clytemnestra, she was very upset about that. She returns home. She has to wait for like 20 years for Agamemnon to finish fighting in this war and to get home just so that she can kill him. And then their children are like suffering because their parents are killing each other. And so then the son decides to kill the mother in revenge for killing the father. And so he does. And then the Eumenides arise from the underworld and they're chasing after him to punish him for killing his mother. And so anyways, this is the inception of the Athenian justice system. So the basically the system of justice, the legal system in Athens that is sort of a transformation. And this is sort of the mythology that's behind it, right? So we kind of see this huge parallel with what's going on in the wilderness, as far as obviously they see Coach Ben having committed this injustice as far as they're concerned, where they believe that he's the one that burned the cabin down. And now we realize like that's not the case. He didn't even know the cabin had burned down. So obviously someone else has burned the cabin down, and we have many theories about who that could potentially be. But what I foresee happening in this season, and the 4th episode of the season is called 12 Angry Girls and One Drunk Travis, meaning a play on the movie of 12 Angry Men, which is about a court case, a trial. And so we have these kind of parallel themes going on. So what I believe a core theme of this season is going to be is wilderness justice. And I see Misty and these two as being sort of like your Eumenides, your Furies from the underworld. They're there to deliver justice. They're there to make sure that it's played out and that there is a just, fair, whatever resolution at the end of all things, right? Long story short, but I'm kind of obsessed with that aspect. I don't know. I mean, if you guys are new to the channel, you might not be aware, but we're kind of obsessed with the Greek stuff around here. It's just kind of the thing. So, so yeah, tra-la-la. Anyways, moving on.
You want to talk about, take a minute since we got 61 people. You want to talk about our new tournament?
Yes, indeed. Okay, guys.
It's not really new. It's been around for a while, but yeah.
Do you want to announce it, or should I announce it?
No, okay. Because we haven't officialized everything yet.
We're still working. We're in the works of things, but Mandy and I have a big announcement to make that for a plan that we have going on in March, which I hope you guys will partake in and enjoy with us. But we are going to do a sort of March Madness Yellowjackets theme.
Chooses. So you're going to be it. You're the it girls and guys, are it people. You are the it persons. And we need to know, this is what we're going to vote on today here in this chat, because we haven't decided what the things are, but we do want to have like things like, are you going to be Misty's syringe or the cigarette? Like, we're going to have some fun stuff, but we're going to have some different fun stuff. And I want to know, should we vote for who is our Antler Queen favorite character, or should we vote for who should we kill?
I think whoever is the winner is the new Antler Queen. Whoever is the loser is sacrificed to the wilderness. Yeah. So, but we're gonna do we're going to figure out the brackets, and I'm thinking we're gonna do a sort of 96 grouping and the adult timeline grouping, and then sort of the supporting characters that sort of mix into either of those. We're gonna do a fun name drawing thing, which I was gonna do a patron and channel member exclusive. So if you guys want to get involved in that, or if you want to watch that, then definitely check out the channel memberships and also my patron. And all of those things are linked in the description through my link tree. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm so excited. We're going to post a bunch of polls. So get prepared for us to be super annoying during March. I'm going to be posting a lot of polls, and I really hope that you guys are going to engage with them, and we'll have a lot of fun.
And I will actually make an appearance from the underworld on girl or twatter. What's it called now? X. Who are we going to X out today? That's what we're going to find out. But yeah. I do have to shout out because this, I used to do this thing called the Song of Madness with my other parody group, Litbringers. So this is kind of where we got the idea, because I really miss the Song of Madness. But, we all have our seasons and we all move on. But I love them. And then that is Davos Fingers. It's for Game of Thrones characters. And so when Game of Thrones is really popping, and I'm sure they're doing it now for House of Dragon, but we do want to shout out to them because that's what, I used to do. And I used to do parodies for this group all the time. So I'm hoping, I don't want to I know I keep promising parodies and I'm promising things, but Axis Mundi has been started, but I'm not releasing the page until I actually get some legit content on it, because I just don't want to, I want to make it good. And it's my baby and it's building inside me. I'm still in the underworld. I'm still in my cosmic egg over here preparing to unleash, but y'all know me. I'm like, I'm a mystery. But thank you for bearing. And I'm so excited to bring this to you guys for this, because with the soccer and the champions, and the golden Yellowjackets, come on, we're winners. We are all winners at life, baby. But we're going to see who and what character you all want to vote. Come right now, drop it in the chat. Who are you going to stand for? Who's going to be your votes? Who's going to be your character? If you have ideas for some good things to vote against, because we were talking about death by hot chocolate or death by Shauna's cookie or the other juice. I don't know. There's so many things we can play with here. So if y'all have any ideas.
I'm going to go ahead and pop up this picture, and Mandy, I'm going to let you. I just need to run to the bathroom really quick.
Don't put pressure on me.
I'm so sorry. I know we've been going for a while, but just give me just a minute. And if you want to talk about what happened with Misty and Nat, that'd be awesome.
Okay. Yeah. So these two, man, we see Nat, the unexpected queen, but she's definitely keeping Coach under the radar, and Misty's getting a sense of it because she's Misty and she asks 1,000 questions and 1,000 things are going, which I think is really kind of juxtaposition with her character in this scene. And they put it with her character in her adult scene with the back and forth, kind of how she was very much like Walter is to her now as an adult, asking and kind of prying and figuring it out. And she thinks that she knows everything. And I love Nat here because she's like, well, Travis and I usually just be quiet, or she's in a sense, you can tell Nat is just tired of having to be that not your counselor. I'm not your counselor. I don't want to have to do this. She is the unexpected queen. She didn't ask for it, but she's doing the role great because we see them thriving. We have people wanting to be better, but sorry, I have to. Don't forget the cookbook. We're not forgetting the cookbook, okay? We have a cookbook. It's in process. Anyway, but back to Nat. We see her cooking it up, and she's cooking with gas over here. And Misty is that mist of a gas that is just letting out all of the secrets and trying to find a way to just get some sort of attention. And I kind of think that in this scene particularly with Misty, since Nat was ignoring her so much and kind of Misty could tell that she was just pushing her off. and pushing her to the side. I think that's why she went seeking for Shauna's attention and saying, "Hey, I think that Coach Ben does this, or he is out there, or it's pretty dislocated that we're looking for berries, or all the berries are all these different ways. Why is Lottie in the berries? You know?" And it's interesting that they're dynamic, I think. And I also really wanted to point out Nat's headgear here because her, as I've talked about a lot of times about the prophet perspective of Nat and the queen and the crown that she's wearing, but it's still black. Like she's kind of got this underworld vibe that we've talked about, like her as a Sharon type character and as the person who's drives the boat. We've also like compared her to when she's walking on water a little bit a few times, the unexpected leader, but the heart of gold, where Misty presents that she wants to have the heart of gold. And that whole combination of those two talking about the heartbreak just brings into a lot of things that we see that, you know, it's how she's trying to sift out all of the truth and sift out all of the things that Misty needs and the wilderness needs. I think also, I mean, I don't know, where are you at? Oh, I put that up there, yeah.
Yeah. We
Um,
won't, Miss T. It's on the list, our long
mhm.
list.
But I just, you know, Misty now, you can see this coming out of her too when the sleepover comes, but it's still kind of such a different Misty now. And this is
Yeah.
not the same Misty we had in season 1. She is this character that is like a covert narcissist kind of being pushed and derailed. Literally, she's being derailed with all of her questions and all the things and all the approval she's looking for with Nat, the approval she's looking for with Shauna, the approval she's looking for, even though she's selling out her friends. But I mean, come on, she's been sold out so many times too. You know, like that's, and Misty did that with Jackie.
Yeah.
Jackie's not eating, you know, like
It's an interesting thing. She wants to be part of the in crowd. She wants to be accepted, but she also has this massive secret that she's carrying, and you know, knows that she can't share that because obviously, like, I mean, on top of the fact that she's keeping the secret about the black box, now she has to keep the secret of what happened to Crystal. Um,
the Trapper Keeper.
it's interesting because it's like, you know, that kind of that idea of like, well, if you tell a lie, you have to have like a really excellent memory because, you know, you have to be able to carry that lie all the way. And so the lie for Misty starts at the black box, and along the way Crystal happens, you know, and all
Notebook,
these little
the
things, and it's like
mushrooms.
this lie has become much longer than you know, maybe she initially intended, or maybe I don't think she actually thought it out when she, you know,
Well,
smashed the black box, but you know, all the
she's
repercussions that would come with it.
she's here also like as an adult telling Walter, well, we don't keep a log of all these things. And then she does have that log and she does have all these things. And the whole, where is Misty's Trapper Keeper now, by the way? That's another like
Where's
what's in
Misty's
that Trapper
storage
Keeper
unit?
2 years later in 97?
Totally. Good point.
I mean, it reminds me of that South Park episode. It could be like what Coach Ben is talking to the Trapper Keeper. Anybody? Bueller.
I get
Eric
it. I get
Eric
that one.
Carmen's Trapper Keeper. I mean, come on. To me, that's a classic
In
90s episode. So.
Isn't that the Imagination Land?
Oh God, no. Well, that was, I think, it's a different one. But anyway, like the Trapper Keeper takes on a life of its own in the wilderness and starts to consume and cannibalize everything that it comes in contact with, like
Interesting.
Misty.
Yeah, that's funny.
I just got
Okay,
really
actually,
excited.
now I think it's ringing a bell. Anyhow, but um, and then, you know, one thing I forgot to mention this, because we didn't get too far into it, but you know, like Misty. Okay, so we talked. You were mentioning like nobody called, nobody called. Well, one of the things that they said when they were out at the diner when it was Van, Ty, and Shauna, they say, "Did you call Misty? Did you even tell her about the funeral?" And then Shauna's like, "Well, she has her way of, like, finding these things out." They didn't even call Misty to tell her about Natalie's funeral.
And I mean, we already knew that she did probably know. She just couldn't go because she can't. But also, like, no one answers her phone calls either. And then
Well,
remember when
yeah,
she's calling
because
Walter too? We had that whole discussion about the calls, and even in like where they're all actually hallucinating in that with Coach Ben, and we have one of hers, and we have those different scenes. Season one. Anyway, yeah, no one is answering her or calling her. That's a
yeah,
very
just
good point. To
it's
W.
really it's sad because and there was even a shot somebody took a screenshot of, it was Misty's phone, and I think it's I don't know exactly when the scene happened, but it basically I think when Shauna texted her and said, "Will you," I don't know. Anyways, but there's a screenshot of her phone, and basically it's Misty, a bunch of sent messages from Misty, I believe to Shauna, that are saying, "How are you doing? This is so hard." Various messages of her like checking in on her, and Shauna never replies. She
And
never replies to any of it until she needs help with Lottie, and she called her to ask her, "Oh, well, you're the only person I trust." And it's like, these are just
coincidentally,
they're so disregarding of Misty, and so, like, there
coincidentally,
is
Shauna
that
gets it
aspect
back
of
though.
what?
In the restaurant, Shauna gets it back. And I was like, you go, Misty, boundaries. I mean, even though Misty didn't mean to, but like Shauna was texting Misty paranoid like her and
Yeah.
trying to get how Misty texts
Oh,
her.
that's a good point. Yeah, how she kind of yeah, I mean, it wasn't intentional, but that's a good point that she, like, kind of now Shauna can, know how it feels kind of
And that,
thing.
like, with no phone and like, who are you gonna call? There's no one we can call, and there's somebody I can call even in the jail cell.
Yeah.
And yeah, this whole man, poor Misty. And I think
Yeah,
also like Nat's funeral, like we didn't talk about that. How sad was that? It was just no one wanted to be there. They were all making fun of it. And then Nat's mom got up there, and Nat liked to be pushed. And we were talking about pushing, right? The
mhm,
pushing of the drugs, pushing of the swings, and then pushing
mhm.
of the syringe. And that's how she died. Nat liked to be pushed. And then her mom, how narcissistic. That's when like you itemize your child. And I hate that so much and use it as like, she didn't care. They pushed her out of the house. She pushed her out of everything in her life.
Mhm.
And she pushed her out the way of her dad. And then here is a picture of, instead of honoring Nat in any way, there's a picture of her and her mom, and her mom is like the main focus of the picture. It's not even Nat.
Yeah.
Like it was so self-absorbed. And
Yeah.
so there are mothers that are like that. My mom
Yep.
was like that. And we've talked, I've shared some very personal stories about that stuff. But I was doll. She even had like a little thing. She wanted to do a doll store called Amanda's Dollhouse. And, I was just, as soon as I started talking and mouthing off, then I became the scapegoat. So it just is, that stuff really happens. And that's kind of like what happened with Nat too. And like, as soon as, her dad didn't, that's what happened with her dad though. And essentially, like, as soon as she started standing up against her dad, what happened?
Yeah. Yeah, it was really tragic. And I think it was really I mean, it was like Missy knew about the funeral, even though they hadn't called her, but like, um, the fact that she couldn't even bring herself to attend was also really tragic and really sad because, Misty loved Nat so much, and, um,
It's a good question.
like, yeah, so for her to just not even be able to go is like that's out of character for Misty because you would just think it was like what Walter said to her. He's like, funerals are a time-honored
Right, passage,
reason.
ritual passage.
Yeah, exactly. And so like and that's normally Misty's like outlook, she's very rational. She's very like, remember when she calls Nat after Travis dies and she's like reading from the website of like how to speak to a grieving person and this kind of thing. And so, she's very in tune with that. So her not even being able to bring herself to go to Nat's funeral just shows how incredibly like how impactful it is on her, how depressed she is. And yeah, she's just having a really rough go.
crying for help, and Walter's calling her out. And where's Caligula? And like, I love this stuff. Like, he's like, on Wednesdays we do this. Come on, like trying to have a regular life or trying to get her to do some, and she just jumping out of bed the moment Shauna calls. Like, that's how trauma bonding is. And it's,
Yeah.
again, the cycles of abuse. And it's when you feel that kind of, you become candy for a sense, and or you get like
Yeah.
those rushes, or you have like these little, what are they called, the with side pieces or side things whenever you need them.
Yeah.
And then this, man,
So, yeah, so we have the scene. All right, so we'll move on to this to Lottie. So basically, it was really funny how things kind of ended in the first episode with Shauna. Shauna was kind of having this, like, she's trying to get back to normal. She got a chance to bond with Callie. Like, Callie has a video of the whole thing that happened at school, and Shauna thinks it's absolutely hilarious, which is, very Shauna of her. But I liked it. At least they're bonding over something, and they're both a little bit fucked up, and that's okay. We love them anyways.
let's look
But
at their
then,
wardrobe though too, because we talk a lot about their wardrobe before in the past, and the colors and what it represents, and like how Shauna's wearing pink, like
oh yeah, well,
Jackie.
we have pink and green in this scene because Lottie, I really noticed her reincarnation sweater is what I call
Mhm.
it. It's
Yeah,
green, it's got the vines going on, and she's just showing up, so she's back, baby.
but
And
she's
Van is
sad though.
also
But she's
wearing green, in the scene of Ty and Van when they're making out, and Glycerine plays, Van is also wearing green, and I think
Mhm.
that that's a very significant thing, but
And
we'll get into that
you see the
momentarily.
teal jewelry she has on,
Mhm.
like the Egyptian stuff, and then also like the three flowers, like the three flowers on the tomb. There's also I mean, she really represents like death right here. Like, she's got like that dark Nat vibe in a sense, but in a Lottie way. In that whole Nat, how Nat became the next guru, but like she's reborn as a Nat guru.
Mhm, mhm.
And she's lost everything. Her whole life has died. And if you have been through like a metaphorical dark night of the soul, metaphorical death of your life, which I've personally just went through, it's like everything means nothing. You lose, all the stuff around you, your home, your everything. It just does not, it's gone. It doesn't make any sense. It's not you anymore. And this metaphorical death. But the one thing she holds on to is the hope to, and that she can feed it and regrow. So
Mhm.
here she is, like out of the darkness, there comes this growth. And it was the whole that they all did. And she did become the scapegoat. Somebody said that in this chat earlier. And I just thought it's funny because here she is like teaching everyone to use the scapegoats, but she was the whole scapegoat. And she was for Shauna too
Yeah,
at the end of season 2. So
I agree.
it's
Yeah, she's,
the guilt worked. The guilt tripping worked.
yeah,
Shauna,
it
did my
did.
pain bring you satisfaction?
It was it was completely warranted for the situation anyway. So, like, I mean, the way that they really, like, they scapegoated Lottie, they left her out to dry, and I'll always come back to that line between Ty and Van where Ty is, like, telling her, "Oh, well, we need to have Lottie committed," and Van tells her, "Well, if Lottie's crazy, then you're crazy too." Because, like, they're the same, like, they are the same, and Ty, gets away with so much more, but really, like, Ty is in my opinion, she's far worse than Lottie because she's not accountable for her actions. She's violent in her actions. She does like weird, like unpredictable things like killing dogs and going out and adopting dogs and causing car accidents. I mean, Ty is a freaking mess. Okay. If of all the characters, yeah, Sean is crazy, unhinged. Ty is insane. As I'm sorry, I love her to death, but
Yes.
she is a hot mess. And
Well,
I mean,
her and
she's really
Lottie,
one of my favorite characters, but it's like all the stuff she goes through and then she lies and she's like acts like she's completely unaccountable for her behavior. Whereas Lottie, on the other hand, is usually like fairly accountable for her behavior, her actions, her decisions in life. She's pretty conscientious of it, even when they were in this sort of throes of the wilderness in season 2, where She was like, yes, the woods will be ours, but like she's still like aware of what she's getting up to.
Yeah.
And I love that when she comes back, she's like, well, this is my religion, this is my spiritual beliefs, and they can't lock me up for my religious views. And
Yeah. No,
and
but
they
she
had to
also
let me out
tells
because other than that, I'm perfectly normal, is what she says.
but
And
she tells the truth though, like, even when Callie's testing her and, like, Misty's over there lying, like, she does tell the truth, just not the whole truth, and then she sugarcoats it. And I think you're right, Thaisa and her have always been neck and neck because
Mhm,
it's the belief between, is it man-made? Are the boundaries man-made? Is it governed? Or is it wild and something spiritual? And they are literally the polar opposites of each other. So of
mhm.
course they're going to be like this. But it goes down to, like, is it you that takes responsible or it? And the difference is that you can deny it or you can blame it, but you are still not recognizing that it comes from within you. And
Yeah.
neither one are. They're missing that point. So I don't think, she's on a good path, but it's that whole religious zealot type thing too. You can just become just as much as like an anti religion person and just flip the switch. They're just the two ends of the extreme.
Yeah, absolutely. I call them the dark prophet and the light prophet. Um, because, like, Lottie is the light prophet because she knows what she's doing. She's aware. But Ty is the dark prophet because she has no idea of what she's doing. She's in her alter state. She literally is unconscious of her behavior.
Well, and then the
Um,
word profit, it's profit money, or are you prophetically telling
yes,
things?
remember? Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah.
Prophet or profit. Yeah.
I mean,
Or
that's
profit
an
for
old
for
thing. Yeah.
profit. And also, like, and that kind of puts, their spiritual entities that they're in contact with, that kind of puts them also on a sort of dark and light trajectory. And that's something that I've kind of talked about before, where the man with no eyes, he seems pretty demonic. He seems, the
I haven't
showrunners
seen
have
that.
actually said that we are meant to interpret him as the embodiment of death. And he's always trying to he's connected to death, to darkness, to people dying and that kind of thing. I don't necessarily consider him to be like a grim reaper, but he's definitely that deathly symbolism. But if, and then with Lottie being the sort of opposite, the polar opposite of that, whereas her entity that she's in contact with is the wilderness. So if the man with no eyes is meant to be interpreted as death, or the embodiment of death, how are we supposed to interpret the wilderness? What does that
Well,
say for the wilderness? And also, Mandy, this is a subject that we love,
mhm.
like the manna of the wilderness,
The
the
prophet.
bread of the wilderness. Um,
They're using the wilderness as their prophet, and they're using, like, government land territories, that there's demonic territories in, like, and kingdom territories. And if you want to get into, like, the religious aspects of it, um we fight against flesh, we don't fight against some principalities and territories. And here they are, she's lost her territory, both of them have lost their reigning offices. But again, they used all of these things for the wrong type of profits. And there's light and dark. I mean, there's false and true. But the thing with where's I going with this? Shoot.
it's funny because I'm trying to not go
Illustrate.
too hard on you guys, but like, in I w in church this week, we were studying all about like cannibalism and about like Jesus's ransom and that kind of thing. And so like the cannibalism aspect to this idea, and how Jesus as a prophet was to convince these people, his followers, that like, eat of my body, eat of my flesh, and you feed the spirit, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And Mandy and I, we've talked about that, like, you can't survive on vibes alone. But that's kind of like a lesson um of Bible, Bible teachings, or like of Jesus Christ, is like his eating the bread and the wine is meant to be his body and his blood. And so
The berries.
and then And then we talk about like the wilderness and like the manna of the wilderness, which is God sending like the bread of heaven to the Israelites as they're wandering, right?
Yeah,
And
daily
so
fresh manna. You have to like refresh. Yeah.
yeah, and that's meant to be the spirit. And so Jesus came to us like and basically it says like our forefathers ate the manna in the wilderness just as it is written, but they still died. And so Jesus, his ransom of giving his life was meant to be um sort of like when you eat of his body, you eat of his flesh in a sense, but that's actually a symbolic um metaphor for sort of a spiritual like refilling, right?
Yes.
So
So until you eat the
and survive
body,
on vibes alone.
until yeah. So okay, so until you eat the body, Jesus came. The whole concept and idea is that he came as man and to die as a man, so that we have the ability to reconnect with God and spirit, because we were shut off by it, by original sin, by DNA, by the forefathers, by our grandfathers, by generational curses.
Mhm.
So we have to have that and acknowledge that it's not about what we're eating or the whatever freshly thing we give. It's all from God. It's all part of the creation. Good light prophets, false prophets, dark prophets, they all play their part. They all play their parts of the game. Everything has joy, but not everything is happy. Not everything is sad. But it
Mhm.
all has joy and glory should you find it in its purpose. Um, and like in here, she's wearing green too. But like the role of a prophet, so there's evangelists, which we talk about Van. There's seer prophets.
Mhm.
There are hearers, audio prophets. There are teachers. There are apostles, and there are watchmen who say stand guard. There's the people who go out. I mean, there's all different types of roles of prophets, and essentially in the Bible, though, these two, she can be a hearer, like Travis is the hearer prophet. She's like the preacher prophet. The preacher is a type of or teacher, and like you know, Thaisa, she could
I
possibly
think she's
be a seer prophet,
yes,
but
yes.
she's not unlocking it because she's not asking. You simply have to, or acknowledging it.
Mhm.
And you refuse, because that's the thing, is you have free will. You have the free will to acknowledge, which Van talks about with Travis, and honoring Javi and the death. And are we acknowledging that it has a higher purpose or not? Are we acknowledging that the death was not in vain, or it wasn't because that there's no control, there's no boundaries or no governing of why these things happen? Why are they not calling Misty? Why are these things? But that's what it's about, is there's no answer to why. And someone in the chat said earlier, like, there's so many unanswered questions, and there will be. And their thing is like, yeah, we got to love all of the ideas, and we got to connect them all, because they all play their part. And even in the Bible, I know a lot of people, like, it talks about everything we talk about. It talks about all of the taxes due to Rome and how it
Mhm.
took over, and humbling yourself, and the pride. And I've been Pontius Pilate, and I've been Jesus in my walks of life. And we all crucify, and we've all been crucified. We've all been crossed. Now, are we
Mhm.
carrying our cross, or are we giving it up? And are we trying to be better for the team, or are we trying to be a selfish individual for our profit instead
Mhm.
of prophets among ourselves? Are we wolves among sheep, or are we the sheeps, or are we the shepherds leading? And Lottie is a shepherd. That she's a shepherd type of prophet.
Mhm.
And I mean, there's really deep things in symbolism there. And if you really want to get into it, look into the book of Isaiah, or Acts. The book of Acts will help you. But these are things that, and even in our Greek mythology stuff, like, you have to go down your own. You have to learn these
I
things
think
yourself. We
I read
cannot
a
talk about some certain things, and even like some evil entities, demonic things that I've studied. And that's what brought me to the light, because I went down the dark way, and I was like studying a lot of that stuff. But then I flipped, and I saw the light in it all, and how everybody plays its part, and they all work for the same purpose in my personal belief
Mhm.
system. I'm not pushing anything on you. I'm not your counselor, but I'm just sharing my experience, so that, I just want everyone to be open-minded, that we all have a part of the team, and we are going for the gold, and we have golden hearts here.
Beautiful. Mandy's really she's like our biblical wilderness uh specialist here, and I'm her little acolyte. I'm on the JV team, but I do agree, and I think that there's a very strong, I mean, obviously there's a very strong spiritual theme throughout the entirety of Yellowjackets, but going all the way back to the pilot episode, I mean, we saw that Christianity is interwoven into that because even Shauna, going back to the first episode, she said, "Oh, remember that time you were trying to be Catholic?" And she says, "Oh, I like the saints. They were also tragic."
They
And something that
are.
Mandy and I talked a lot about during season 2 was how, and especially with like the Greek stuff that comes up, like we're kind of talking about this whole story sort of being like this spiritual evolution like through the
Mhm.
ages, because when they first get out into after the plane crash, it's like the chaos. They're in the chaos realm. There's no order. There's no, nothing predictable or anything like that. There's no rules. Then we get into the second season, and we have a lot of those Greek themes, the sort of pre-Athenian justice system. So we're still like a wild mythology sort of place, figuring out the archetypes of each of the individuals and just the roles that they play. And then as we're getting more like season 3, obviously we're getting into wilderness justice. So they're starting to establish more and more society. And so I think that also a natural like evolution of the series is going to be an evolution of the spirit, right? Their spiritual beliefs, and they're ascending from the chaos through sort of the archetypical and to the light. And we've talked
Yeah.
even about the symbol sort of being imagery connected to that as sort of an as above, so below,
And the
where
access
it's kind of,
movie.
yes, exactly, the axis mundi, and there's sort of the sun above and then the hook below. And we know the hook is very significant to kind of the death process out in the wilderness. We saw that with Pit Girl. So there's a
I
lot, spiritually, like, here, and that's what we love to
I
analyze
agree with
on
what you're
this channel.
totally with what you're saying, but like, see, kind of how I saw it was, is that they went through all of that stuff in season 2, and now in season 3, they're realizing that, hey, none of that. It was all like the world that I've created around myself. Because like I like to bring in a lot of Carl Jung or Jung into all this too, which is the archetypes. And when you look at the Greek religions and you look at the saints, and there is these archetypical roles that you can fit into 1,000 different ways, however you want to look. If you
Mhm,
look and search, if you look for something hard enough to find something the way it is, you're going to find it and see it that way. But
mhm,
our goal is for you to see something from a new perspective and just be open that there are these archetypical, stereotypic types of characters and roles and things. And I think
mhm,
Yellow Jackets, like, it brings that, it meshes that, and which is why we get the mesh team, and we're talking a lot about the transgender stuff, and like kind of meshing where we're not into those stuck societal roles, and we're not stuck in this. And the moment you think you fit into one archetype, or you're this kind of way, which was the very 90s way, you is the moment where you're going to lose yourself, because you can be any and all of them and more. But then when
mhm.
you lose yourself that way too, so it's like, you won't be able to find the perfect thing. It's about finding that part of you and then restarting it. Yeah, right. I agree with that too. But
We appreciate that humor
yeah,
around here.
but it's about, like, see, like last season, to me, they found like a lot of harmony and peace and like where they can do it, but then it didn't work. And that's
Yeah.
just like life. I mean, that's just that's what humanity is. We've been doing it for generations, and we will continue. Lord, blessed be, or whatever. It's not up to us though to decide that. It's just
Yeah.
the hunt, the game, whatever you want to call it. It's as old as ages, and it's the story is the same. Like if you look in the demonic storylines or the Bible storylines, or like these kind of Drake storylines, same story, different entities, same story, different spirits. It's like similar vibes, similar things. So once you start connecting them all, um, oh wait, oh thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Oh
That's
my
really
god,
kind.
I'm sorry, I put
Did
that
I
out.
put the same one?
Okay, you go,
Okay,
Aaron. Not touch
okay.
it.
Emmy, what's up?
Yeah, thank you.
Um,
You
yeah.
it's this is not honestly, honestly. I have grown so much and experienced a lot of this stuff through this show. And like then recognizing my childhood trauma and seeing it and just being able to talk about it and learn about it and just going down the stuff. And that's how I know. I just started lurking and seeking you will find. Ask and you will, you'll get the answer.
Yeah.
Thank you, Google. But like don't always trust Google. But like, thank you. That makes me feel good.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. We have so much fun, and yeah, I really think, obviously Yellowjackets, like, gives us this opportunity to talk about these things, and, we talk about it with other, shows and stories and that kinda thing, but, I really feel like Yellowjackets is so unique and special, and I'm just so grateful that we have the opportunity to talk about this because yeah, because we're all trauma gremlins,
It's so
who
true
feel
though.
seen by this show, and, it's so funny, like, yeah, we've all kinda gone through things, and,
We've all been
you
every
know
character. Like, I mean, I used to
Mhm.
hate Shauna. Now I loved her, and then now I recognize like my ex in her. I don't know. Like, there's a lot, and then I used to thought I was more Nat, and now I'm like, wait, maybe I'm more Misty. Maybe I'm more Callie now this season. Either way, right now we're having a sleepover. I feel like we should get back to that.
Yeah, probably. But we all are like, we're all like mentally concerned. We're like, oh no, I relate to this person as long as it's not Misty. No, but
And you're
even
not
though we
alone.
all are most like Misty, let's be real.
All I'm saying is that we're not alone. Okay, you're not alone.
Yeah.
We're here.
Yes, we're all trauma gremlins. So,
Okay, let's talk about
okay.
so
So,
what she's wearing, and then this sleepover too. Do you realize that they're wearing the mask and they go through this whole initiation process? It's an
uh-huh, the
initiation
mask.
process with the drinks, the
I
rum
didn't.
punch. They're
Mhm.
using the drugs, which is the grenadine. They're the mask. There's wearing the kitty shirt. She's wearing mushroom pajamas, by the way. Lottie is, and Callie just going. They're doing the two truths and a lie. They're playing the games, but like even still, they're still. It's the hunt. It's the game. They're hunting
It's
for the
well,
truth.
it's the mysteries, like, Callie is still going, so what I said is, after she dumped the pig guts and stuff, she's going through the initiation of the lesser mysteries. So we've talked about, the Eleusinian mysteries, there's 2 sessions, there's the lesser mysteries and the greater mysteries, and Callie is going through her first initiation. Now you have to go through 2 in order to be, like, ascended, but so this was Callie's first step in it, but I love that you pointed that out, Mandy, because I didn't even think about that. The masks, the animal masks, and the drinking of the spirits and all of that. Yeah, that's really great. And also somebody pointed out the
Jabber.
Malibu and milk drink was a throwback to Shauna from
Mhm.
season 1 because when she was a teenager, that's what she used to drink.
Well, and then the milk,
Um
obviously, from like underworld perspective, and but the jabber, like okay, so the spirits number one, how we were opening up the spirits, and they were dancing and they were kind of having like their own little thing. Let his feathers stiff as a board, but how they added in like the blood red, in a sense,
mhm,
drinking that
totally.
drink,
Oh yeah, the grenadine.
yeah. But that's the berries, so it's a wine,
Yep.
the acidity, and the yes, it's her initiation, but not just hers, it's Misty's too, in a sense. Is this Misty's queen like initiation in it, or is it
Yeah.
Callie's? And
Well, we've talked
here's
about that too, like, because, something that I had been contemplating was, is Misty like, okay, so we had like Shauna drew the queen card, but Misty is the one who actually killed Nat. She took her life. So like kind of depending on how you look at who takes the title of queen after that,
I think it's
Misty
Misty.
might potentially be the one in the running because if you are the person who like it's sort of a Viking sort of mindset where it's like, okay, if I kill the former king, then now I'm the king. I take that title because I'm the strongest one kind of thing. So like Misty kind of has that card in her pocket, in my opinion.
Mhm.
Whereas, Shauna, again, queen, she drew the actual card. And then, of course, we have Callie like kind of challenging her too. So it's like, it's never easy for Shauna. She's
Yeah.
always got to be like fighting for her position. So,
Well, I
but I
thought
think she believes that she deserves to be queen the most of all. But is that the truth?
She's not. No, she's the mother. But like the badger mask, like I always thought like Callie with the bags on the eyes. Like I don't know. I just thought, and the brown bag of guts, like badger bags. But so like, man, this was such a good scene. Misty throwing up too. Essentially, that's some DNA. That's some
Oh, good
body
point.
fluid. Sat like what do we want to call?
She left. Yeah. Well, I guess
Offering an offering
some.
on the platform on Shauna's table
Yep.
where she's cutting up all her meats and deers and things, and here it is, Misty like taking center stage, like being the offering, and she literally Misty was the offering tonight to Callie
Yeah.
to babysit, and then like Misty also the tiger mask, not the bird. Where's Caligula? That's another thing that I'm talking about. Is like her whole perspective in character has changed because like she before was the owl and the wisdom and wearing all these little owl things, and now she's got all these little cats everywhere.
And the tiger pit, that's what they call the pit girl pit. Is called a tiger pit.
And she's in the pits for
Oh.
sure.
Interesting.
This like red punch reminds me of like the blood hive punch where they mix up the stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
She's just a cherry bomb. Come on. And the sailor jab. So like his character, the sailor jab, does that not look like the symbol a little bit? He has his knife, and it's kind of the access. He's the rum punch bottle is called like the sailor jab something.
Oh,
and I love how they had the canine. What was it? Did she use the canine medicine in this, or just the sleeping medicine?
I don't know. I don't think. Yeah, the dog antibiotics was a little bit of a random throw in, but I'm sure that there's something there.
But here they are though on Shauna's throne, which is her couch. Like we've talked about Shauna's couch being like her altar more than her bed being an altar. That's like her and Jeff's altar. And the couch, and like here the futons and the whole basis of furniture in this episode. And yeah.
Interesting.
And here are the girls, and then when they come home, she's braiding hair, like she's serving the queen. Lottie comes and just takes over the house. Becomes a new queen, and Lottie and her have the same haircut. Lottie and Callie. They have the same look going on. Did you notice? Oh yeah, that's the Callie evil look right there.
All right, so
anyway, let's go talk deeper.
Okay, well we should start wrapping this up.
The panda bear mask too, though. Like Lottie was the bear, and now she's black and white. Come on, that was great.
That's really great. That's a great catch about the animal masks. I didn't even factor that in, but that there's so much of that reenacting that ritual from Lottie's compound, which I think is just a reenactment of like their experiences out in the wilderness that she's sort of brought in as like her wellness treatments.
And throwing up though too is like a symbolism of like demons coming out of you as well. So it's her not wanting to take the oopsie daisy tray. Oh my gosh, oopsie daisy tray. I love that.
The oopsie boopsie or whatever.
Oopsie daisy, I think.
Oh, I don't remember.
With the drinks. I wouldn't take a drink from
Walter's eggs that he made, the oopsie boopsies and the boopsie poopsies or whatever the hell he said. I was like, are you freaking joking, Walter? You're out of your damn mind.
Another thing that I noticed too, when the dynamic of them, they used to watch Dateline, and Shauna and Jeff are being held to all like these Dateline things, but now that Lottie's there, they're watching like telenovela, rich housewife stuff, like queen things, like shows where I'm like gonna be queen, and it's kind of like a whole different dynamic where it comes from that, like the show has changed, the leading star has changed, and now here we are, like Missy alphabetizing the cabinets, trying to figure out which category she fits into. How are we going to organize this? Am I mac and cheese? Am I just pasta? What am I? Like it was so like I felt that. Like I don't know. I felt like a personal vibe with that. I was like, am I mac and cheese? Am I just cheese? Am I just pasta filling up space and carbs? Like, I don't know. Maybe it's because it's a 40-year-old thing. I don't know. 40-year-old version again. We'll see. Who alphabetizes their cat? Their
Misty Quigley.
Socratic method.
Exactly. Exactly. All right, so let's move on from this. So before we get into the scene that we all are here to talk about, one quick thing. Well, let's go back to Ty and Van, they return to the restaurant. Ty decides she's going to. So she and Van, after they had their little makeout session, their reverse hunt, they go home and off screen they have sex. Okay, we don't get to see it. And but then the next morning they're hanging out. And you know what? Let's not take the opportunity to talk about whatever Thaisa is up to, because she is apparently, we're just scrapping the whole Senator Turner storyline, and she's no longer she's a disgraced senator, is what she said.
You know why? Because she prayed it and she got it, and she doesn't really genuinely care. Just like she doesn't genuinely care about Van. Like, she prays. That's what people like her, like psychopathic narcissists, like the dark ones, will do. Is they just like will prey on you. Once they hit it, they quit it. And she hit it and she quit it.
It's all about the hunt. Maybe she just really enjoys the chase, the hunt, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But
eloquent way to say.
They
everyone else is paying for it though, not her.
What's that?
She's not paying for it though, is she? Everyone else is. Van's virginity, her like Van had to give up her rights, her boundaries. Her Thaisa is all about taking over other people's boundaries.
Yeah.
Truly. And
pushing
other
them.
people dying for it.
Yeah.
And other people paying. And once she's got it, she doesn't care. Like, she already made the point. Well, guess what? It's over. So what can I fuck up in my life? I mean, sorry. What can I? It's a self-sabotaging behavior. Same thing we see with Shauna. Ty just self-sabotages everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So she yeah, it's an interesting thing. So I mean, even this whole thing, I mean, you're a well-known politician, like everyone, you won those, so people know who you are. You're a very like distinctive looking person. So like people are going to know who you are when you're out and about and that kind of thing, but you're already like a disgraced senator. So people are going to be watching you even more so, because they're like, that's just how the paparazzi works. That's how the press works. They would be all over that. So the fact that she's just like, well, I'm a disgraced senator. Well, I'm no longer a senator. I'm, I have impeached myself. I don't even accept that. I just don't even accept. And I don't feel like the writers are that careless that they're just going to like drop it like that, because it was such a main point of her season 1 story arc. I can't see them just dropping it and letting it go, because it even played into the season 2, the whole stuff with Biscuit and everything. And so yeah, it's a lot to contemplate. But anyways, regardless, neither here nor there.
He needs to be on It Chooses bracket, Biscuit, for sure.
Yeah.
But they're definitely going to bring it back. It's got to be some sort of storyline that she's avoiding, just like Shauna's trying to avoid the whole dramatic, let's just get back to life as normal. And that didn't work for her. And so her first love didn't work. So now she's going back to, her side pieces. What are they called? Your, what is it called? The narcissist. Someone come on, throw it at me. Your side, where they have all their side pieces. They're
twin flame kind of thing.
No, there's a word for it. Your quick. Anyway, it's like people who they come back and forth to, or they'll use, and they'll just basically use you to get a hype or prey. And once they get you, they're gone. Like, and that's what they do. It's all the hunt. And like, once her true love left her, she's trying to find a replacement, because now she needs something to replace her doormat wife.
Yeah, I don't really know
And then as
what
soon as they
her.
have sex, as soon as they do have sex, then that was that scene where she comes home and she treats Van like a doormat wife. Where have you been
Yeah.
this whole time? And feeds her a box of takeout. That's narcissistic supply. Supply. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you. Yes. I don't know why I couldn't think of that word.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's interesting to see how things are going to like play out as far as that's concerned, because I do think that she and Van are so linked that like that's who she's meant to truly be with. And I don't really know.
Trauma
I don't
bond.
know how it's going to play out, but I'm not very satisfied with them just saying, oh, she's just a disgraced senator, and then just kind of leaving it at that, because that just seems so incredibly unrealistic, especially considering like how the press operates and just how much of that storyline was like so important in the beginning of her story. And then also, I do think that there's something to the idea that she, in the wilderness timeline, she and Van are kind of talking to each other, and she even says, uh do you think, Van says, do you think you'd be better at this, at
Yeah.
leading? Um, and basically implying that because Ty is basically saying she thinks she'd be a better leader than Nat, and that Nat fumbled the bag, and she's like messing all this stuff up and that kind of thing, and how she would handle it so much better. And that's such a callback to, of course, like the pilot with her um freezing out Allie and all of that kind of stuff. Like, Ty is very impulsive in that way, and she always thinks that she's right, and she's not really willing to take other accounts into, factor that kind of stuff in. Um,
Or
but
accountability. Like the
yeah,
dog.
it's her
Like when
accountability.
she bought a new dog, and also that was
Mhm,
what I was telling you earlier. Is like right after Ty says that, Van says about the wilderness doesn't want to be governed in boundaries, and like here
mhm,
she is, Thaisa has no boundaries, and she's taking everyone else's. And then I think what happens is I think that they did actually address it pretty well, because they addressed it from Thaisa's perspective. Whereas, like, I'm just going to avoid it. And she didn't, she wanted to pay for cash. She has plenty of cash, right?
mhm,
But she doesn't want to use her card. She doesn't want people to know where she is.
mhm.
She's hiding out,
Well,
She's not,
so
there's
yeah,
going to
well,
be something about it. But right now, they're making it seem like, oh, like, I'm just a disgrace. Like, she's like, oh, well, or Shauna, well, we're just have to go to this funeral. Like, it's so bothering to her to do anything, to do any work.
how she always is. That's how she was with Nat back in season 1, where
Mhm.
he called her about the postcard or whatever, and she's like, my phone has been blowing up since my press conference or whatever. But
Yeah, it's always
but what's
something
so
more
interesting
important.
Well, what's so interesting too is that so in the wilderness, she believes she'd be such this great leader, but then we're juxtaposing it with her in the adult timeline, where she actually was the leader. She won the Senate race and all of that, and then now she's disgraced. Now she's abandoning it. And so it's an interesting like contrast of the two ideas, because she wants to be leader in the younger timeline, but as in the older timeline, once she's become the leader, she completely fails and just abandons it. Yeah, and is no accountability or anything. And so it's really interesting how it's going to play out.
I
Uh
think that she's going after doing all the things she wanted to do. Like they said to her before, like, you did all the things you wanted to do. You went to the college you wanted to do. You did what you wanted. And she always wanted to make Van hers.
yeah.
So she's gonna do it, but you know, it's not about Van. It's about
Well,
her
and maybe
accomplishing something versus actually like loving Van. And
yeah,
I think it's more also the fact that like Van is
she's on
dying,
the
it
timeline.
makes her look better. Like
Yeah.
it's something to use as, more bait for other people.
My wife has cancer, so we
Yeah,
had to
yes,
leave really
exactly.
suddenly. Yeah. And
Exactly.
it's interesting because, like, now she's on a timeline with Van also, like, in her mind, she's like, "Okay, well, we only have this limited amount of time,"
My
which,
wife.
yeah, that can make it, like, more romantic, but also, like, in Thaisa's mind, give her, like, "Okay, well, this is only gonna go on for so long." Like, Thai is just like that, she's very calculating in that
I
way.
think she's using Van as a tool for her to try to tell herself that she's not the certain way that she is. Like she's
Mhm.
like, okay, well, like I don't think the pizza idea was, it was her being more sarcastic and belittling in a passive aggressive way than anything. And it was, again, I like it. Oh, man, you just triggered me when she called, oh, my
Mhm.
wife, and then
Mhm.
here they were arguing about how she's still married to the other person and did everything else with this person. And
And
yeah,
it's such, and that's, we kind of briefly discussed it earlier, but I think it's like it is important that we emphasize, like, Thaisa dumped Van because she thought that she could do better, or that she was trying to have this like veneer of respectability, is what Van says, that that she could do better than Van. Like Van wasn't good enough for her for what she wanted in her life. And but Ty's whole life, and we talked about this too, Ty's whole life is wrapped up in what they went through out there, because she came back home. She went to college to become a lawyer who practices land use, which is like very irrelevant in the grand scheme of trying to be like a successful lawyer, one would imagine, but seems more directly connected to whatever they had done out in the wilderness, and her becoming sort of um the lawyer that's like, she's like, I have to get ahead of this in every way, shape, or form that I can, so that if one day we are caught, and if they figure out what we did do out there, then somebody is in the position to defend us to the best of our abilities. So that's why she pursued that law degree, and her whole entire lifestyle. But the one thing that she sacrificed in order to have all of that is Van. And so it's like, was that worth it? And um is yeah, what does that
well,
mean?
ironically, Van does, having the liver cancer, and they're eating the foie gras and
Yeah.
taking her to a place called Past Me, like, past, I mean, you passed me
No,
on, but
and
also, like, Van took care of
what
her mom who had cancer dying, doing all this. So
um
she doesn't want to put that on Thaisa. And, like, here it is now. I think what it is Thaisa is trying to take Van's identity in a sense, because she's trying to reconnect with Van. She doesn't know how. So she's over here trying to reach out in the way that Van connects with people. And that's what, narcissists do. They literally end up taking your identity, same as you, and they become enmeshing in these kind of calculated things.
mhm.
And, I've experienced this exact thing. And, that's all I can say about it right now. But it's to be second place to somebody that should be your husband or wife and you should be married to, and then finding out that you were never that or whatever, it's a big deal. And here she is calling her the wife and trying to act like it's, oh, this is, oh, they're just replaceable. This one, my actual wife doesn't want to be my wife, so here's a new one,
Mhm.
the one that should have been. I mean, how
So
heartbreaking is this for Van? Sleeping in there, and then she's sleeping in Sammy's room.
so the
She's
name of the restaurant is, yeah, Postame.
awesome.
Postame, and
Ask
what
me.
that means is they have no soul, or they have no humanity. And so that's kind of an interesting thing with what you're saying, like, especially when it comes to Ty, being sort of that soul sucking type person. But what was really interesting about that too, on the flip side, is um the guy, the waiter who died outside of the restaurant, it's almost like he's working in this place where they have no soul or what have you. But then Ty, in her dark prophet role as the person who's kind of delivering souls to the afterlife, in a sense, because of her connection with the man with no eyes, I felt like that whole scene of her taking the matchbook, and then she goes to like
Courtyard.
a church, for all intents and purposes. I don't know exactly what, like,
Yeah, this
what
was,
sort of church or whatever, but they were
Iglesias.
speaking in Spanish there, so I need Mrs. Duncan the Tall to do some
It's a
translating for
Catholic
me.
church.
Oh, okay, it's just Catholic church. So she went to the altar of Mother Mary, and she dropped the matches from the restaurant in there. And so to me, I was like, I interpreted that as like she was helping that man's soul pass through to the other side. Because that's her role. So like her altar state like came through.
Yeah,
Um
it was her alter state. I actually definitely think that, because she was smoking the cigarette, and all of
yep,
a sudden you see her switching,
yep.
and that switching, like, it's very real. I've met people who switched, and I've been in experiences, and it's just like that. Like, and things like a cigarette, I've talked about before, but like cigarette, like with all the toxins and the layers and how it's labeled up, a lot of people compare like old demonic ways is like to the ziggurats, and that's where the word cigarette comes from, because it was like layered like that, and it was like the opponents and the main temples against, and you're like literally giving offering to the ziggurat every time you smoke a cigarette.
Interesting.
Mhm.
Interesting.
Yeah. Anyway,
Hmm.
y'all just ponder
Yeah.
that some other time.
Well, so after that, they Ty returns home back to the apartment, and Van gets there shortly after, and she had been at the doctor because she had stepped on a glass while they were fooling around, and she cut her foot. So she, refused to have Ty taking care of her. So she said she'd go to the doctor on her own. Now, there's obviously like some vibes when she gets back, and Ty lies to her and tells her, "Oh, everything went smoothly
Yeah.
at the restaurant." But then Van does the same. She says, "Oh, everything was totally fine at the doctor's office." But what's really interesting is, in that prior scenes where she was so hungover after they've been drinking, she's like, "Oh, I shouldn't be day drinking. I have, terminal liver cancer or what have you." Um, and then, but she comes home and she starts drinking right when she walks in with Ty. So that leads me to believe, hmm,
I think it's
that
just,
maybe the doctors found something, and maybe Van has a little more confidence in having a little day drink now,
or
meaning
she
maybe
just
the
has
cancer's gone.
a pitfall and doesn't give a crap anymore, and that she just gave away her righteousness to this woman who's treating her now like crap the next day, and not worried about, oh, you were there this whole time, like where were you, where was your location, what are you doing, not how are you.
Oh, I mean,
Not
I
how
didn't
is
interpret
it.
it that,
And
like,
no, I think
but
she
maybe
said,
I didn't look that far into it. But
I
I
think
didn't
I did, that's how I felt, and I'm
well, I interpreted like any sort of whatever in their tone was because Ty was lying. So she's already trying to cover her lies and her tracks, and so like I didn't take it as her like
but wouldn't you be like,
being
let me
controlling or
see, oh,
anything.
how are you feeling, like let me see, like how, let me care. It was just like, what took you so long?
Well, Van doesn't like that though. Van doesn't like to
Of course
be
not.
babied over and coddled over. And like when Ty was doing that, she was like, "I'll take care of myself. I'll go to the doctor myself." So maybe Ty is just trying to be more
Well, I think Van is,
supportive in that way. It was kind of how I interpret it, but I don't know.
I think she's not like that because she is so hurt and doesn't want Thaisa touching her. And she gave herself up in a moment of weakness, and after the chase and feeling in that moment like a wild animal again. And
Yeah.
yeah, and back to that choking thing, the guy was gasping for air. Like, did he actually have like like Van had a heart attack, in her heart, like she, like if he is a soul sucker, they sucked it right out of him. And the fire is Van. Van is so symbolic of the fire, the Vestal Virgin. That's why I took all that Mary Virgin and her giving it back to the Vestal Virgin type thing
Yeah.
for you. For I always thought of you between that and then the "I my dick's on fire." Like I was like, oh, that's Aaron. That is so Aaron when she is mad. Like she's like, because like let me tell you, this girl is my best friend because of that reason. She's like, you know what? I can't believe that person came against you. I will like she just goes off on that. And I'm like, Aaron, we're just gonna pray for them. You know what? We're not even gonna worry about it. It's their own issues. Like we can't change. Like, and
I don't know
meanwhile,
what you're talking about. I'm all about the love.
but like it's so funny though because now I'm a little bit like that right now, and she's all about the love. So her and I are so sun and moon, and like opposite. Are we Lottie and Nat? I mean, or I don't
We
know.
always have been.
Yeah,
I put on these because, it was Valentine's Day and love is in the air. Um,
I think I
we
have
had
seen
a
some fun.
very surprising incident between, well, actually, it wasn't surprising at all because that's another thing that I've been predicting for quite some time around here on the channel. I can't see. I'm so blind, so I need my glasses on. I didn't even see that Mandy left. So okay. So
I don't know. I have some somewhere. I just don't want to go look for them because
It's fine. I'm so blind. I was like, I need to take these off. I don't feel
they look so
confident in my abilities
cute.
to do anything or not have like cross eyes or something. Anyways, um so as many of you know, I have long been predicting Shauna and Melissa to be friends,
Oh
at the
Lord.
very least those two were for mythology reasons. I always have known that these two were going to be friends. Now that they were going to be lovers, well, that was a bit of a surprise, let's be real. But I don't hate it at all. I thought it was fantastic. So we have kind of this accumulation of things. So after the pagan ritual, the second episode starts with Shauna basically moving her baby's grave because they had done the ritual and they had these graves set up and all of this. And so Shauna decided, no, my baby's not going to be under your weird wilderness cross, crap. So she moved the grave and covered him with a stone and kind of had this personal moment. Well, then over her shoulder, she kind of hears some rustling and some noises going on, and doesn't. She's like, "Who are you? Show yourself," kind of situation. And who pops up? But her little JV friend Melissa out in the woods. And Melissa, you know, um, she's nervous. She's comes out of the woods. Shauna's standing there. She's got her knife. She's ready. And Shauna's very protective over her baby. And I don't blame her at all. It's my baby. Nobody has a right to my baby. And Melissa agrees with her, and it was kind of this interesting moment because Shauna does not have any friends. She doesn't feel close to anyone. She feels like she hates everyone, and she would literally just, I mean, give her a reason. She literally said that to Mari, give me a reason. Like, Shauna is not somebody you want to mess with. um Thank you, Andy. um
Listen, Andy will know. Probably your ex did this too. Give me a reason. Give me a reason.
Give me a reason.
Yes.
um Yeah. So, and there's a lot of things that have pointed to these two being friends. Obviously, so to get into the Greek stuff just briefly, Shauna, obviously, as far as like we were talking about the archetypes and that kind of thing, Shauna, in the Greek mythology, she kind of embodies the Demeter, um, persona, which is the mother goddess. And of course she is the mother of Persephone, who is our springtime goddess who descends into the underworld. Very Jackie vibes. So but on that note, uh there are these bee priestesses, to be exact, because bees are associated with the underworld, but obviously also they're associated with fertility, with bringing new life. And so bees are actually seen as sort of like these creatures that can kind of come to and from the underworld, and they sort of are the embodiment of new souls, or they carry new souls and new life, and that's sort of their fertility function. And actually those bee priestesses are called the Melissae. So there's always been this connection between Shauna and Jackie and Melissa, really, to where I've just been waiting for it. It's just a matter of time that these guys were going to be friends, or, have some sort of bond, have some sort of interaction, because she is meant to be sort of this embodiment of the priestesses of Demeter. So, it's kind of this interesting dynamic. And yeah, so and
Sounds
what's
like
really
fun.
interesting too that kind of struck me earlier was like, yeah, the Melissae are associated with fertility and like refertilizing the plants and everything. And as is Demeter, she's the mother goddess. But there's this idea of like these little fertility priestesses serving the mother goddess. And it's like, that's about to be your girlfriend. Like, she's gonna serve you. But so
I don't know about
um
girlfriend, but more like supply or like handmaiden. Uh,
yeah, I think
probably
girlfriend.
no, probably that's the character that she's so in love with Shauna, or they had
Mhm.
it, but like Shauna, I don't think Shauna's capable of love. She just is
Well,
not.
yeah, I think it's not gonna necessarily be a healthy dynamic. I think that, like, it'll be good for Shauna to have someone that's sort of, like, on her side and somebody that she can maybe start to confide in a little bit, but I don't think that it's gonna be a healthy relationship by any means. I feel like, Shauna's gonna probably she's probably gonna play out, like, her dynamic with Jackie on Melissa, but, like, kind of role
Followers.
reversal or what have you, because Jackie always made Shauna feel really, like, kind of powerless and like she was she's lesser than Jackie was
Mhm.
versus, like, Melissa, she's younger, she's, more impressionable, and she does kind of look like a little mini Jackie, in enough. Not necessarily similar, but she's a blonde with the stripy shirt. Yeah,
I think
exactly, like,
it's gonna be
close enough as far as Shauna's concerned. So,
it's gonna be a servant and like how she's holding on to key important facts and roles and things, like what Misty told her, like don't show anyone yet. She's gonna have the uprising and everyone's afraid of her. I mean, dictatorship, fear, like she's gonna lead with fear, and this is where she's gonna come in. And you already see her and Jen, right? Like they kind of give each other a look when Shauna walks away, or like her commenting about that Lottie or commenting about Mari and like like oh, you have a personality, like
yeah.
that. Yeah, I mean, when you're like a JV for any high schooler, like a 12th grader to talk to you, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, they said one thing or two things, and but
Yeah,
at
she's
this point,
probably yeah, like, excited, like, just happy to be kind of, like, impressing her, but I definitely think that there's been a lot of hints
yeah,
to her having a crush for quite some time. Like, if you look back through season 2, Melissa, she always finds she gravitates towards Shauna. We see her, even though she's a background character, if you pay attention to, like, where Melissa's sitting, she's always sitting right next to
mhm,
Shauna. She's sitting at Shauna's feet. They sleep near each other. They're always kind of near each other. So we haven't necessarily seen the interaction between them, but I feel like it's kind of one of those things where Melissa has had a crush on Shauna for
hey,
a period of time, and she always kind of tries to get close to her. And she's like, maybe too shy to talk to her, but she's like, let me get close to her kind
oh,
of
she's
thing,
that girl
like
you were
she's got
talking
a
about
little crush.
earlier, the girl you
Huh?
were talking about earlier that's always with the guy.
Yeah, yeah,
She's
like
that
the
girl,
Lottie,
huh?
like, "Travis, Travis, Travis." Yeah,
Okay.
except for this is a little more low key, like, this is how, like, a normal person might act if they have a crush on someone,
Mhm.
where and granted, Shauna is far from normal, but it's, her trying to, like, get close to her, and then, she finally, like, shoots her shot. She's like, "Hey, so I thought maybe, it's so crazy. I should just follow you and keep an eye on you," you know?
Let's look at the facts here. The facts are this right here is where the little sadist Shauna comes into play, where her and Adam, how they act and how he,
Yeah,
this is where it comes into play.
yeah.
So,
It's interesting,
are
so yeah,
wait,
so,
can I ask a
um,
can I ask a
Melissa
chat question? I want to ask you too. Oh, which is hot? Well, I don't know if I can say they're hot because well, they are adult women, so I can say this now. But Um, which kiss did you all like better? Was it this one or the Thaisa and Van one?
oh, good question, yeah,
Shoot it up,
yeah.
chat. There's 64 of you watching. I want 64 kisses. Let's go.
Yeah,
For the love.
start dropping your kisses in the chat.
Who did you like more? Because I was just weirded out by this one. I was like really into Ty and Van, and I was like, but I hated it at the same time because I'm like, no, Van, no. And this one was like I don't know if I'm partially maybe into some sadist stuff now. I just don't know. I don't. It makes me feel unsure of myself. And usually sexually, I'm very
Well,
sure
so
and
I think you
secure.
actually like this one, I think is what you're trying to say.
Um, I
Well,
don't know. Maybe I'm coming out. Maybe I have decided one way is better than the other way. I haven't decided yet, but I mean I will tell you like yeah. Anyway, it's not about
anyways,
me. It's
but,
not about me.
Yes, I agree. And I love the knife. So yeah, if you didn't catch it, here, let me see if I can zoom in on it. Actually, I have another photo that I can
Oh my god!
that's even
But
better.
look at how she's grabbing Shauna, like like she's really digging into Shauna there, right where Shauna cuts Javi, right? That's like the weak spot, isn't
Yeah,
it?
totally.
Mm, there's some
Yeah, she
power. That's some power play, and I
yep.
love how like she's always wearing her cap backwards. It's kind of hot. Like it's such a '90s dude thing, you know,
Let's
like
like
masculine energy.
Melissa just went from like the majority of viewers having absolutely no idea who she is to shooting all the way to the top of everyone's list. Like everybody loves Melissa now, and
She's in the
thankfully
money.
I'm the OGist of loving Melissa. So I'm really happy that this played out the way that it did.
Thank you. Shalissa. Oh, it's called Shalissa. I love that.
It's actually called Shauna Hat. Hashtag Shauna Hat is the real the real name of the ship.
I mean, like Shauna the Dead.
Yeah.
That's so stupid but funny. We need to have this as Shauna of the Dead and like kind of
Yeah.
a mixture. Oh my god. Lord, Lord.
So anyways, guys, I think that about wraps it all up. We've kind of gone through everything. I mean, I think we've missed a couple things,
A
but
lot of things.
honestly, we've been going for way too long and I am very tired and I have to get up in a couple hours with children. So we should probably start to wrap it up here. But definitely let us know in the chat who's your favorite kiss as we start to wrap this up. And if you have any final questions, drop them in the chat now. Um, but
One
otherwise,
thing.
what are you gonna say, Mandy?
Lottie with the belt. I thought of that as the belt of truth because remember I was talking about she went onto the other side and she started to see things on a different perspective in our underworld, tree, death, circles. Also, I forgot to say this earlier, but and I just forgot what it was again. Oh, it was about Misty coming home at 11 o'clock. Thank you guys for being here with our sleepover. But
Yeah,
the 11th hour,
this is the real sleepover.
if you know about the 11th hour, this is actually, it's so funny because we end up streaming things like this, like a sleepover. And like the one time my phone or my computer was all messed up, it was the call, and I sounded like I was on a call that episode. Hey,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I think we're really synced with this wilderness stuff. But it is the 11th hour, and it is here in Texas, 3:09, 3:06 a second ago. The
Yeah.
spirit hour.
The
And my
witching
little
hour
spirit
is
just woke
upon
up,
us.
actually.
Yeah.
So he poked his little head, Mama.
Well, all right, you guys. Well, we will be back next week. Thoughts on Coach Ben's conversation in the cave. Yeah, I don't really know.
Was
I
it
don't
you?
really know.
Yeah,
But
was it you that said, someone said it earlier in the chat, like, is it deranged that it could be Crystal's frozen body? I love
I
that.
saw that comment earlier in the chat. Yeah. I
The
don't
Holy
know.
Spirit. I mean, there's the whole thing where God conversates with the prophets, and they all play out the prophet roles, and you kind of do your
Yeah.
own reading on your own time. But Coach Ben is in the cave, and he's kind of doing like a Moses type thing, and where Moses could connect and talk directly to like the Holy Spirit or God and
The burning
whatever.
bush and all
Um,
that.
there's also the ideas. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I liked that one. I think it's definitely the hobby. Same person as the hobby. I think it's
Yeah.
once you reach that where you're almost dead or something. Because Coach Ben wanted to die. He was on the cliff. He was
Mhm.
like 6 feet from the edge, and I'm jumping. You know, and I think that he connected with that cliff or with Javi being in the water. Just definitely going into the underworld. So
Mhm.
that is something, the voice of truth, the voice of reason. Maybe that's why he put on the belt of truth is a kind of thing that prophets talk about, and your spiritual armor. Um, yeah, I don't know if there's a lady in the tree. I don't
Yeah.
particularly believe that one, but I
What
like
I
the
thought
idea.
of that was really interesting, that might be a parallel and maybe not, but I just like I randomly thought of it, or something that kind of like gave me the vibes, was basically like when he was talking to whoever in the cave, for some reason my mind was going to Thaisa at Mother Mary's altar, where there was kind of some kind of parallel stuff going on there. So
Yeah.
maybe it's like a goddess figure in their minds or something like that. I mean, I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know. That's a really good question. That's still a huge mystery that
It was
I don't know. And I don't know if he's just losing his mind and he's like trying to parse things out himself, or if it's yeah.
we saw a lot of the different chemical compounds in the cave, like the sulfur, right? The yellow shining in there too.
Yeah,
So it could just be the acid, like it could be acid tripping, like with
it's
that.
entirely possible.
I
Yeah,
mean,
there could be like a vapor sort of situation going on, or I
yeah.
don't know. Yeah.
Okay, have Misty and Walter done it. This is really cute. I like to say no because I like to see them as like getting married first because I like to see them as so, or if they
Yeah.
do, they're like so like germophobic.
Yeah.
Like it's going to be like a whole. Do they even know how to do it? You know what I'm
That's a really
saying?
interesting, yeah, I
Like
don't know. I haven't pondered that one.
the eyes, yeah, wow. That's the imaginations. Let's, and then the next episode is entitled remind me again.
Them's the breaks.
What?
And that one is directed by Jonathan Litzko, who is one of the co-executive producers on the show. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm very excited though, because I feel like no matter what's going to happen, it's going to be a very important episode, for the reason that it's season 3, episode 3. And like we've discussed, like the threes are very important. They're playing with that symbolism, which is like connected to druidic philosophy, I guess you might say, like druids and like Celtic
Everything.
mythology, is kind of like the three symbolism, but amongst
And
other
basic
with
decorating, you groups of threes. Come on, let's go.
yeah. So
Everyone knows that.
yeah,
It's the it girl. If you're
how
gonna be the it girl with decorating, you have to group it in threes or fives.
okay.
Odds. Yeah.
The number 5 that is the source of all things in the universe, as
Like the
mother would
five
tell us.
lanterns.
But anyways.
5 lanterns. I think I have like 7. 6. The 7th is me.
All right, you guys. Well, thank you so much for being here, for watching. I also have another project that I'm working on that I'm hoping to get out to you guys this week. Maybe 2 projects. I have a lot on my plate, a lot that I'm working on, and I'm, excited. We're back in Yellowjacket season, so I'm just really happy to be here and have some new stuff to work on for you guys. It's been such a long weekend, like waiting to get to do this live stream. It felt like the longest weekend. So I am excited for next week, even though the episode doesn't get here until Sunday. I'm excited that we get to just jump into it and have the conversation with you guys the next morning,
I
because we
felt
will be here on Monday morning.
I felt like we were attacked this week to like not put out our spiritual prowess in this.
Yeah.
Like I felt like all the odds were against us. And you know what? That's what happens when you level up spiritually. You get attacked more spiritually. So like all that happened to us this week, but
It's
we're still
the
here.
law of ascension,
We
it just is
love
what it
you.
is.
And we love
Once you
you.
once you start to be awake, then everything starts happening faster. It's the law of ascension.
I think the
Read
sleepover
up
was
on
meant
it.
to be. It was just meant to be. And we got a morning in the UK. So
Exactly. We have our morning viewers here already from the fine continent of Europe. So take care of yourselves and guard your own. All right, you guys, thank you so much for being here. We will be back next Monday. And until then, just be careful, take care of yourselves, and watch out for the wilderness. And Jackie out.